Okay, we are live on YouTube, and yeah, we're live on Twitch again. Cool.
Yeah, I just got a Twitch ad. So
Sweet. Yeah, sweet. And yeah, Dragon FAF says, I mean, as I always say, Dan, to you, reason I support YGOrg is that you replace metagame.com, which for me has been a godsend.
well, yeah, there you go. Like that was like a founding goal of the site. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And now fast forward to today, what are your thoughts on overframes, and how do you think these new sets and serialized cards will impact Yu-Gi-Oh?
sure. First and foremost, I think that there are two different kinds of overframes, and that they're not being super clear or transparent about it. Um, I think that the English name for it's not a rarity because you can have an ultra rare overframe and a secret rare overframe, but it's like an alternate artwork rather than a rarity. But I think the English name extended art is pretty appropriate for, at the very least, the ones that we're getting confirmed. Wake Up Your Elemental Hero and Quasar and stuff, because all those ones are doing is literally extending the artworks.
Mm,
But when you look at some of these like overframes, uh, expanded artworks, I guess, rather than extended artworks, if you want to like split the hair, things like Dark Magician, the Pharaoh's Servant, his like background has been like customized and moved around.
mm,
It's not just his hat sticking out of the frame. Um, what's her name? Gagaga girl calling for help. She's on her cell phone. In her standard artwork, she's sitting on this like clover-shaped golden thing. But in the overframe artwork, that has been turned onto its z-axis and turned into the background, and she's sitting on the frame of the card instead. Like they're actually like altering the artworks for these, and you can't necessarily do that for something like Shooting Quasar Dragon, which they absolutely don't have the rights to modify his artwork, let alone the artist who drew it to do it in the first place. But also, like, if you extend it outwards, what happens when it covers the set ID or the attribute or the stats, right? Like, Dark Magician, the Pharaoh's Servant's legs are positioned in such a way that he doesn't like obscure the attack and defense. Like it's very deliberate, but they also made that artwork with overframing it in mind. If anything, the overframe was probably made first and then brought down. So there very clearly is like two different kinds to this, where like the extended ones are just like whatever, like here's another fancy super poly for you to collect. But these other ones that actually have like the altering artworks that are on like these newer cards, those are way better and way cooler, and they're also the only ones that have been given Grandmasters, although not all of them, because the BLS and Magician of Black Chaos rituals didn't get Grandmaster rares. I think overall it's a good thing for the game. Like obviously having more collectible ideas is good. Uh, I do, however, also think that the single worst thing the game ever got was quarter century secret rares. So they need to be really careful with how they do that, because like I have, I think I still have, Starlight Rare IP Masquerena, and that thing was
mm.
$2,500, and
Yep.
now it's like 600
Yeah.
because the QCR came out. I have the Starlight Rare Appaloosa. It was like $1,000. It's like 200 now. Part of that is that it's banned, but another part of it is that there's a QCR one. Um, so on the one hand, it's like, okay, well, you just have to like upgrade to the QCR, and like, sure, I have a playset of every Dominus Trap and Mulcharmy and QCR because I'm a fancy bitch, but it doesn't change the fact that like, what happens when they announce the overframe Fualos? What happens to my QCR one? And sure enough, there is an overframe Dominus Impulse, so my QCR one is just not the nicest one anymore. And this idea of like not power creep, but like rarity creep makes it impossible to invest in a card. We knew that everything was going to get reprinted. Fualos getting reprinted means don't invest in the secret rare one from Rage of the Abyss. And good, players should be able to get Fualos. Every single card in the game should come common. I'm sorry, common charity fans who don't want their format ruined, but too bad. Every single card should be as accessible as possible. They should make a 10,000 card starter deck that is just the first 10,000 cards all as commons and say, give me $200 for it. And I'd buy 3 of them. Everybody would. Like, and then you can just play every deck. Like, I get that they have to sell the newest boxes, and secret rares sell the boxes, and the boxes pay for the YCSs, and the YCSs need to be won by the cards that are secret rare, and how that circle works. I get that. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a huge difference between your secret rare being Sprite Blue, and now you can't play the game, or it being Triple Tactics Thrust, and now you just can't play the game as efficiently and cool. I'm super on board with secret rares of Pot of Prosperity, Triple Tactics Thrust, Lightning Storm, Pot of Extravagance. Those ones, great. Way less so okay with the secret rares being things like Sprite Blue or Tearlament's Kaleido Heart. It's the same set. Cash Tira cards. I'm just stuck in 2023 right now for some reason. Not a huge fan of Crocea, to use a nice recent example. I don't think that Crocea should be a secret rare and a $50 card. I think that they should have made like a Starlight Rare MST for everybody to chase after, and that all of the Radiant Typhoon main deck cards should have not been anything higher than super. And then if you want to make people like chase after the like really expensive card like for the deck, then just make it like Forbidden Droplet, like a quick play that they have to play, and like make Forbidden Crown the chasey secret rare, which they did. But I don't think that like fundamental building blocks of decks should be paywalled. It makes the game less competitive as well. I don't like that I can go to a regional and play against a dude who's on Magnet Warrior because he can't afford to be on branded. That feels bad. I mean, you yourself, you're a competitive player. You've been to Worlds. You know, I think you got there on Worlds points even. It's completely unsatisfying for the first 3 or 4 rounds of every regional you went to, I'm sure. I think that the game is healthier and better when everyone has access to everything, and that when they made QCRs, they simultaneously crushed their Starlights while also creating no faith in those QCRs, because who's to say they won't do it again? So these overframes need to draw a line in the sand and say, we will never cross this line. Once a card has an overframe, it will never come in a higher rarity than this. And I think the Grandmaster rares, the serialized ones, they need to take those way more seriously. It is very simple to release the Grandmaster rares in Tokyo and just distribute them. But Walmart and Target, or what we call mass market, make up about 80% of the packs sold in North America. I don't want to see 80 out of 100 copies of a Grandmaster rare end up in an 8-year-old's Christmas stocking so that he can spill his milk on it at the breakfast table. Like, we don't need that in this game. I don't think Grandmaster rares should end up in packs, straight up. And I understand the allure of having a serialized card in a pack that will make everybody go crazy trying to pull that pack. Make the overframes of the cards in the packs and make them 1 in 10 cases for all I care. Make people chase after them and make a public statement that that card is never getting reprinted as an overframe ever again. Every reprint of it will just not be an overframe in secret rare at its highest. Like, the overframe of it will always be the best one. But the Grandmaster rares can simultaneously solve a different problem, which is prize support at events. You can just pick each YCS a different Grandmaster rare and give 1 to 100 to first to 100th after Swiss. And even if I don't make top 64 and I got like 79th, but I played on day 2 and I did my darndest, I just get number 79 of Dark Magician, the Pharaoh's Servant, and then that's never going to be the Grandmaster rare at a YCS ever again. The next YCS can be the Karibo one. And like, we already have 36 different Grandmaster rares. That's 36 YCSs. That's 3 years worth easily, considering you can have the Dusseldorf YCS can give out the Dark Magician, the Pharaoh's Servant as well in German. And there's just 100 German ones now. Like, they can make playing in the events way more lucrative and incentivized and worth doing. And then for like your huge ones, like Dark Magical Curtain, friggin' like $20,000 Grandmaster Rare, nationals in every language. Simple. Which means Konami will never do it because that's the
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, no, no, your appreciation to the choir there, that would be amazing. And that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you about thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh pricing. And a previous comment when you asked me about, like, when I did my Worlds grind, I actually won a lot of regionals. Do you remember when Minerva was the prize card?
I do.
Yeah, and it was very, it wasn't easy to get, and I was able to borrow one, and that was what led me to win a lot of tournaments. And I have to admit, it was fun being like one of the only two or three people in the room with a Minerva. But I do 100% agree that there shouldn't be such a huge paywall behind competitive decks, and like all the meta decks should be very accessible, all the meta cards, all the hand traps, everything should be super accessible, and then just have everything be common, like you said, and then just higher rarities for things so people can pay to upgrade their things, and that stuff will still sell. And yeah, like, and I fully agree with the QCRs and how they kind of killed the secondary market and like all these rarity collections, and they've made like Yu-Gi-Oh like the least kind of desirable, kind of collector's market.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, that stays the case because obviously there's the sword of Damocles hanging above all of us there. But um, I do think that Yu-Gi-Oh is a player's game, not a collector's game. But collectors are what keep games going. So we do need to have a space for them and a
Mm.
reason for them. And it's not enough to just keep reprinting Blue Eyes White Dragon over and over and over again. And trying to bridge them by like making Blue Eyes a competitive deck is not going to grow the player base. The thing that grows the player base is the common thing. Like I said, you may remember 2019, and your World's Grind was 2017, so you definitely were playing back then. Salamangreat was a starter deck, and
Yeah.
the only card in that deck that wasn't in the starter deck was Sunlight Wolf, and that was a regular rare in Savage Strike. So you could build the best deck in the game for a high five and a sandwich. So we have regionals here in Atlantic Canada, and they regularly get somewhere between 40 and 60 players. That January 2019 regional had 118 players in it because there were people who had not played Yu-Gi-Oh for like 3 or more years who were like, cool, there's a regional in my city that I can go to, and in order to like buy a deck and play in it, it was like $30. And like some of them even topped, like it was sick. um but there are I guess fair weather Yu-Gi-Oh fans, players, like people who like their deck gets banned and they stop playing, but then they want to come back 6 months later and they look at the game and they're like, Fallen Dragon of White is how much? Like Drago Tail Ketu is how much? Like why am I playing? I'm not gonna spend like $800 to try Yu-Gi-Oh again. Like it's not gonna happen. And using Master Duel as like a testing ground when Master Duel is an even bigger money sink. Best of one, max C land, no TCG application whatsoever. Can't be done. God, the release of Master Duel was hell for my Facebook inbox, I'll tell you. I had people I went to high school with who had not touched a Yu-Gi-Oh card in 20 years in my inbox being like, can you help me with Master Duel? All of them just wanted to whip out the like Dark Magician playground deck and like do well with it. And they know that I'm the Yu-Gi-Oh guy. They've seen my own Facebook wall for the last 10 years. I Hundreds of people who have never gone to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in their lives that wanted to play Master Duel and get good at it. And 3 months later, every single one of them was done with the damn game because
Oh my
there was no onboarding process or casual friendly element to it at all. They all just jumped in and went like, what's a synchro summon? What the hell is a link summon? What do you mean I lost? Like,
Yeah, no,
ugh.
it's crazy. And I was actually going to ask you about that. So, like, what are your thoughts? on Master Duel, um, I feel like you mentioned, there's a lot of things you feel could be different, right?
Oh God, yeah, for sure. I think a huge oversight, because it's programmatic, so it's so easy to do, is custom formats. I think I should be allowed to just make my own forbidden and limited list and open a duel room, and anyone who joins it has to match that list. And then you and your friends can literally just play casually against each other with like custom ban lists and just like ban Max C and actually have fun for a change kind of thing. And big content creators could be running tournaments with their own ban lists and stuff. Could also do drafting. Like, it is so easy to just make like a bunch of custom packs for the people playing in the duel room, and they don't get to keep any of the cards, but they'd actually get to like play them and try them out. And you could do a draft of only the newest set and let them open 100 packs of it and actually get their hands on the new archetype, like Radiant Typhoon's the newest thing on Master Duel right now. Try the cards out, see how they feel, see that they like them, and now they'll actually go and spend their gems on them, as opposed to being like, well, I don't know how to play that deck, so I don't want to like start cracking packs of this product. I'll save them for the deck I do know how to play 6 months from now. Like, they do nothing to incentivize people to play their game except punish you for not playing it. I think that that's crazy. To get a little EA Sports about it, I do think that they should also lie about the rarities of the cards to you while you're dueling against someone. I think that a big thing they could do that would make them a lot of money and they would never get caught is just have your opponents have royal rares randomly added to their cards that you can see and they can't. They don't know. Like, they just summon their tour guide and it's normal to them, but on your screen it's a royal rare, to just like generate that FOMO in you. And just like, you'll see like these like royal rares that you want, and now you have to like spend the gems to get them. Same thing with the accessories. I think that accessories that have cycled out should be available for really high prices in the shop. So like, you see someone who's got like the Pot of Greed mate that you could only get from the first duel pass, and it's just like in the shop for like 10,000 gems or something. And then when you're like doing the Duelist Cup and they're trying to like pair people, they should just like pair people who are free to play against people who aren't, so that you can see like the fancy cosmetics that you're not buying and like incentivize you to buy them. This is all from a business practice. I don't think that that would be a healthy, good thing. I don't want players to go through that, to be clear. It's just specifically answering the question, like what I would do differently if I ran Master Duel,
Mm-hmm.
is make money that they're leaving on the table. But yeah, I think that Master Duel is their easiest springboard to getting players into the game, and that they're not using it as an onboarding tool at all. Instead, it's just its own third version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Next to OCG and TCG.
Yeah. And just to read some of the chat, Dragon FAF says, I mean, gonna quote my 40k competitive gaming friends who say I play competitive slash go to tournaments to play opponents who are playing at my level slash ability, and it's not fun. And helping my opponent play better makes the game more fun for me. That's a very cool sentiment. And
Yeah,
Mahi says 99% of people who spend on Yu-Gi-Oh will not make an ROI, but is the player's game and catered for the players. 98% of the players don't really care and just enjoy the game. That's the loop the game has, which there is a lot of truth of in there. A lot of people won't make any money on their investment in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's a hobby, right?
yeah. I mean, so from a strictly economic stance, the reason we have like money, the very concept of it, the reason economies exist, is that there are people who need things done and things that need to be done. So I need medical care. You need your pipes fixed. I can fix a pipe. I'm a plumber. You can give me medical care. You're a doctor. Are those two things worth the same? Because if they're not, in a pure bartering system, all I can do is be like, I'll fix your sink for you if you give me medicine, or tell me which medicine I need, or whatever. And so, like, people get paid a middle ground, which is money. Here's money. You can use it to represent the value of the work you're doing. And now, if the guy, even if the guy's sink isn't broken, you fix someone else's sink, and they gave you this thing called money that you can give to the doctor, and an equivalent amount of like how many sinks you have to fix before you're worth the medicine, or how much medicine he has to give you before it's worth a whole sink, depending on how many plumbers and how many doctors there are. But the very idea of like money supplanting that middle ground is that the use of it, like that exists like in a barter system. I'm sure they were trading freaking stacks of wheat with each other before there was money. um the whole idea behind like a capitalist system is that the use of money allows you to get things you want rather than things you need. And the incentive of being able to get things you want instead of just need will incentivize you to do things to get money you wouldn't do normally. And that's supposed to generate like innovation. That's why they say like capitalism made the iPhone, because what's the incentive to create the iPhone and innovate and make something better? It's that you will make an awful lot of money. But what's the point of having that money, which gets back to like the question, and it's hobbies. The reason we get extra money is so that we can do things we want to do rather than things we need. And you're supposed to have disposable income or extra money that you are willing to lose, that you spend on fun, on an activity, on a hobby. And that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is supposed to be, is a hobby. You're supposed to only spend your extra money on cards, on tournament entries, and so on. You're not supposed to make money back. Like the idea of buying a booster pack and like using the cards to like play a game is the value. The return on investment is the fun you converted the money into. It's not supposed to be about buying a card for $1 and selling it for 10 later. If you buy the card for $10 and it goes down to only like 7, and you're done with that deck and you sell it and get 7 of it back, then that fun only costs you $3 instead of $10. That's fine. That's cool. But the only people making money off of it are supposed to be like the brick and mortar stores. Like they buy from you cheaper and then sell it for higher because they pay employees and distribution costs and everything else. But the like 40 people in that room at like your local tournament, all of them are supposed to be exclusively losing money because they're paying for fun. No one has ever gone to the movies, spent $10 on a movie ticket, and then left the theater going, "Where's my $20 bill?" Like that movie was terrible. At the end credits, it didn't spit out a $20 bill at me, or 20-pound note, whatever you want to call it. You're British. But like no one has ever like looked in their armrest and been like, "What the hell?" Like I spent $10 on this movie ticket. Where's my $15? Like you don't go to a movie to make money. You're not supposed to go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament to make money either. You're paying for fun. Like if you want to invest in cards, you can. They do very much act like stocks. God forbid somebody spent 25 cents on Phantom Knight's Torn Scales, and it's now a $20 card after that Phantom Knight news. And I won't pretend that a big reason people come to my site is to find out about that Phantom Knight news early enough that they can get the card for less than $20. It's basically just stock trading tips as YGOrganization, organization, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm not oblivious to that. But I do think that anyone who takes the stance that Yu-Gi-Oh is bad because I don't have a good ROI on my cards doesn't understand the point of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you make a really, really good point, and I really like the way you explained it. And I think just in general, like society right now, like with social media and everything, and everyone's kind of driven to be like hyper productive, and everything
Hustle
has to
culture.
hustle culture. Exactly, everything has to generate value. Everything has to be a side hustle. Everything has to be, like X, Y, and Z. And I've definitely like fallen into that trap. But I think you are just supposed to enjoy things and just enjoy experiences and have fun with your friends, and just do things you enjoy for the sake of enjoyment instead of just what you're going to get back out of it. Um, and yeah, I do think in terms of the competitive aspect where like you're, you know, putting in the time and energy and playing all these tournaments to, in terms of like prize support, there isn't the ROI there. And I think compared to other games. We
Sure.
definitely need to. Hopefully, Konami will continue to improve. They've improved a lot
Of
recently,
course.
and hopefully they continue in that trend to kind of give players more back. It kind of feels sad when you look at like Lorcana or One Piece, and
For
like these
sure.
guys are walking away with like crazy pricing, and like just for making like day two or like top 32 or top 64 is better than you get for winning a YCS in Yu-Gi-Oh
Mm.
is crazy. But
Well,
it's
so
slowly moving in the right direction.
the difference there is that that's not comparing playing Yu-Gi-Oh to going to a movie. That's comparing playing street hockey with playing in the NHL.
Yeah,
Like when you go to locals, you are not a pro Yu-Gi-Oh player, no matter how bad you wish you were. You win locals 30 times in a row, you're still not a pro Yu-Gi-Oh player. You're a big fish in a small pond. If you are traveling, and I need to specify traveling, that doesn't count if the YCS comes to your city. If you are traveling to events, then yes, you have spent like thousands of dollars. You're buying these high-end accessories, you're putting in the time, you are trying to be like a professional Yu-Gi-Oh player, as oxymoronic as that sounds. You can do that, and you should pursue ROIs. You should treat your cards like tools in your professional trade, the same way an NHL player treats his hockey sticks and his skates. You should treat your deck boxes and your sleeves. Like, you should take it seriously. But if you are watching this video and you consider yourself someone who is a hardcore grinder on the regional circuit, trying to go to Worlds the way JY did, and you don't currently own 3 of every single card, no, you're not. Like, you have already messed up. Like, those are the tools of your trade. Like, I right now have downstairs. In fact, I can show you one of the boxes here. Uh, I have every single card in the game in triplicate in the same sleeve. So no matter what 40 card deck I want to build, I just pull the card out of the box and put it in my deck. And when I take it out of my deck, I put it in the box it goes in. And I don't have to re-sleeve anything. I don't have to change anything. Oh no, Thunder King Ryo is huge in the Blitzclick deck. Better make sure I got 3. Already do. There is only 14,000 cards in the game. 3 of each of them takes up about 8 of those rows that I just showed you. Like, my chair takes up more space than 3 of every Yu-Gi-Oh card does. Put them in the corner in a closet. It's not that hard, and it's not that expensive. It's literally cheaper than a pair of skates and a hockey stick if you wanted to be a professional hockey player. Like,
wait,
you
how
spend
much
more
do you reckon it costs?
traveling.
How much do you reckon it costs to own every single Yu-Gi-Oh card, like the lowest rarity?
Yeah, so well, that's a big part of it. Is obviously I'm not getting 3 of the super and 3 of the ultra and 3 of the secret and all that nonsense. Although if I was trying to go to worlds, I probably still would because of min maxing and micro optimizations. But having 3 of every card in lowest rarity after a tin comes out, because like right now as we sit here, Crusea is very expensive, but it's about to be in a tin in September. In that like 2-month window after a tin comes out, 3 of every card in lowest rarity costs about $1,500, and I spend that much just traveling to a YCS. So
Wow.
like the idea that you have to like invest in all these cards to make sure you can still like afford like every Yu-Gi-Oh card and stuff, no, you don't. Like the new set comes out and like you need to buy 3 Fallen of White Dragon, and it's an $100 card, and like where am I going to find like $300 for that? And the YCS sure as hell isn't going to give me $300 in prize support if I come in 15th or whatever. Um, Sell it when you're done, and then buy it back when it's in the damn tin. Or you spend the $300 on it, and you're, I can't remember his name, British guy who's played Draco Tail in like
Jordan
30
Gallagher.
events in a row. I'm sorry?
Jordan Gallagher.
Yes, Gallagher. He may have spent $300 on his Albazes, but he's going to spend on average like $10 an event to have played it by the time he's done with the card. And then he'll still probably be able to get like $30 for it by the time he's done, even after it's been reprinted. Like, and then you just get the reprint one, and that's the one you use if you ever come back to the deck. Like, it's not that hard to do. It really, really isn't. Like, commons cost nothing. You can get 1,000 commons for $10, and there's like I said, there's 14,000 cards in the game, and 13,500 of them come in common. And it's nothing. It's really nothing. Go to your local store, dig through everything. The, this again gets back to that 2013 summer where I became the competitive player I am. That summer, March, so not quite the summer. That March, a common vanilla from Pharaoh's Servant, or it was a Dark Crisis. At the time, it was 10 years old. Now it's over 20. $20 common vanilla. It's called Ninkendog. Familiar with Ninkendog, JY?
No, I'm
No?
not.
No. $20 common. Because Cosmo Blazer was the new set, and it introduced this new deck called Fire Fist. And in that set was a trio of Xyz monsters: Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King, Diamond Direwolf, and Lightning Chidori. And Direwolf was the chase secret rare. It was any 2 level 4s, but Fire King required Beast Warriors, and Lightning Chidori required Winds. And Rescue Rabbit says, banish me to go get a pair of level 4 vanillas with the same name. And guess what the
Oh,
only Wind Beast Warrior in the entire game's called?
Ninja
Ninkendog. So
Nintendo,
this
yeah.
unreprinted vanilla from 10 years ago suddenly became $20.
Oh my god.
And boy, if I didn't already have about 200 of those between me, my dad, and my brother from all the packs that we had opened over the years, so that was sick. But that happens all the time. We now have Primite cards even. You can't imagine how good a vanilla can just suddenly become. Doku Royaiba was the only Pyro Dark, or was it Fire Fiend vanilla in the entire game for the Primite engine, so it worked on the Tenpai and Yubel deck at the same time. That crap happens all the time. And that's just vanillas. Vanity's Emptiness is a very easy example of a common with an actual effect that just goes pickles at some point. There is no reason to not already have 3 of every common, except that you can't afford it. And if you can't afford it, it literally costs less than 1 Fallen Dragon of White does right now to get 3 of every common from 2002 to 2010. It's probably $60 for all of them. If you just go diving through common boxes or buy bulk or whatever else, they cost nothing. They're very easily a penny each.
Yeah, I mean, there
And
you go. Yeah.
it's just it's effort and it's time, and God forbid you'd probably spend more on postage than you would on cards if you piecemeal it out instead of bombing it altogether. But in 2021, at the height of that bubble, I sold all of my cards to Sassy Otto. Shout out to him, good guy, and bought the house I'm currently sitting in. 92 grand.
Wow. Wow.
Since then, without deliberately seeking out cards, without going on TCG Player and being okay, I need 3 Ninkendog or whatever. Anytime a new set comes out, one of my local whales, shout out to him too, he buys cases of every product and sells them on eBay. That's what he does. That's his job. I have him put aside for me 3 of every common and 3 of every super from every single set, and he sells it to me for $30. And so I just make sure I have 3 of every common and 3 of every super of every single set that comes out. And then I will go on TCG Player, to be fair, and I get 3 of every ultra and secret that are less than $5 a week after the set's out. So the sneak hype has gone down and the market is saturated. And then after a YCS, 5 packs of that set are given out to every single person who played in it. So suddenly the market just floods with a ton of copies of the cards again. As well as the results of the tournament show oh, this is actually the deck you want to be playing. So that deck's cards go up and the rest of the cards will go down. And then I will revisit again. And again, any secret or ultra that's $5 or less, I will pick up my playset of. Duelist Advance, to use a somewhat recent example, there was only 5 cards that weren't under $5. Was Holly Sue, Kaiba Man the Legend, Arcane Arts Acropolis, Artmage, other words that start with A, and Goldleo, Lunalite Goldleo. 3 weeks later, I was able to get the Kaiba Man the Legends for $1 each, the Gold Leos for $4 each, the Arcane Arts Acropolises for $3 each. So I was only missing Holly Sue and Equal Zero, the Sky Striker. That's the other one. And those were both $30 each. Look at Holly Sue now. It's not even close to $30. And Equal Zero just became a common in the modern decks. So unless I planned on playing Sky Striker, I didn't need to spend the like $30. And now if like, hey, legendary modern decks just came out. Sorry that you guys don't have it in Europe. But it just imported like Camellia. Maybe I want to play like Mitsurugi Sky Striker finally. So now I suddenly need =0. Oh, it's in the product. So like I bought 3 of the Chronicle Charmer deck. I bought 3 of the Chronicle branded deck. I'm gonna get 3 of the modern deck or whatever. And by doing that strategy, of just like getting the playsets and also buying 3 of like every starter deck that comes out and only buying 10 reprints of cards. Since 2021, when I sold all my cards, I have replaced the entirety of having 3 of everything, just out of like what was like reprinted in the last 5 years. The obvious exceptions being things like Black Brute Drago that weren't reprinted and haven't been. And so I just attacked those ones. There are some exceptions to this. Arnios, Blood Mephist, 10,000 Dragon. Those cards are crazy expensive. They're also entirely useless. Just don't even worry about it. And if they ever weren't, they're going to get reprinted before you ever need them. Konami wants your money more than you do. They will sell you Blood Mephist if it's ever relevant. But yeah, like for the most part, Arnios is the only one of those that has ever actually come up, and it did. 2024 NAWCQ format, Arnios is actually a somewhat viable card. Instant Contact needs a level 7 E-Hero Fusion to summon, so that you can like make like Kashtira a Rise Heart and stuff. And then it also needs to be a wind monster to banish with Tempest, the Dragon Ruler. So you can't use Aqua Neos instead because it's a water. But outside of that, like unbelievably narrow interaction. And then there's Fusion Deployment can get Air Hummingbird out of your deck by revealing Arnios, and then that gains life, so you could win in time. And if you use Aqua Neos for the same role, you get Aqua Dolphin and take a card out of their hand and burn them, so it still wins in time, but only if they had a monster in hand. So if they happen to open like 6 spells, then you lose the duel instead. But again, like we're splitting a hair on splitting a hair on splitting a hair for Arnios to matter. For the most part, it doesn't. And for the most part, you can just have like a war chest of these cards for very, very inexpensive. I don't know what traveling's like in Europe. I don't live there. I'm sure the trains are a lot nicer and better. But there was a YCS in Pittsburgh just a couple months ago, and my travel costs without cards and without a hotel or anything was going to be $1,200.
Wow.
And like if you skip one YCS, you can get like 3 of every Yu-Gi-Oh card for the same amount of money. So
yeah, that's crazy. Like you've actually kind of like really enlightened me on a lot there. Like I had a kind of conception in my mind that it was really like hard to get all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and
not at
just
all.
of how you laid it out, I'm like, wow, like I'm actually kind of mind blown. And
I spent
Milano
more
the
on sleep.
Duelist, that's crazy. Milano says he might have to try out this formula. I really appreciate you breaking that down. That's mad. That's crazy. Um,
Yeah, I use KMC Hypermat white mini sleeves.
yo, me too.
They're yeah, they play the best. Like exactly that exact pair. But I needed 36,000 of them because there's 12,000 cards times 3, and they're like $15 a pack, as I'm sure you know. Now,
Yeah.
when you buy them in bulk like that, like in the like packets of 5, it's not $75. It's like 60. So like they go down like dramatically when you like buy them in bulk. And then I bought like 100 of those like 5 packs is even cheaper, like a whole like crate of them. But it was still like $900 on like just sleeves. Like it was a lot. So,
Yeah.
but
Like
again, even my extra deck, all in those sleeves. Every single card is in the same sleeve. And I understand that like if you accidentally start the duel with an extra deck card in your main deck, then you lose. So people put them in different colored sleeves so that they like you notice. Get good is the solution to that. Like you can't side deck an extra deck card without it being in the same sleeve as your main deck. And so while you're sitting there side decking out your Dweller decide in your Exciton Knight because you're going second instead of first, you have to sit there and like re-sleeve your cards and stuff. Like, no. Have you seen what happens if the clock hits 0 in 2026? No, dude. Like, I'm all 90 cards, 60 main, 15 side, 15 extra, always in the same sleeve. And all of my cards in storage, they're all in those KMC Hypermat whites. They never break, they never tear, they never scratch. They work on every type of playmat, every table surface. They're just the best sleeves. Sponsor me. But
Sponsor me
like,
too. If there's like,
yeah,
anyone from KMC watching, I'll be grateful for that.
but yeah, like it's just a simple matter of like going to my link box, scrolling through, finding the guy, pulling it out, putting it in my deck, and I'm done. Good to go. Uh, if I was doing like the worlds grind and like just cared about like if I don't win worlds, I have failed. I need to just like try my absolute hardest, every little min max advantage I can get. I would literally drive to each of the events instead of flying, and I would keep all of those boxes in my trunk. That way, if I got to the event and it's like Friday morning and everyone's like, "Oh my god, the big tech! Like I can't believe I never thought to use I can't even remember his name right now. The Link 2 with the green disc on him, sideways and down. It's just a generic Link 2, but then that turns into something for Burning Abyss so that they could play cards.
Underclock Talker?
Yeah, that guy. That thing at YCS London 2018, because it was like a last minute tech, and like people were literally like walking up and down line asking people for it, and it was like $30 day of because everyone needed it, and it's just a common. But you have it at home in another country kind of thing. Not me. Mine would be my damn trunk. I'll just go get them. Like I would literally just bring everything with me to every single event if I was that passionate about it. But I think I would also just have like 3 of every card in every edition and rarity if I was that passionate about it, because there are stupid tiny little advantages to like every little damn thing where it's like, how do you choose which copy of the card you're going to keep? And for me, for like my Appaloosas, for example, I kept a QCR and the OG Starlight and then one of the alt arts because I'm only ever going to play one anyway. So it doesn't really matter if they match. So I just kind of like pick like which one I'm feeling at the time. But obviously there's like, if you play Rhoda or Bonfire, if you play Bonfire and search for QCR X Dryzeal, and then you special summon an ultra rare one, your opponent knows the QCR one's in your hand. So like they need to match. But there's advantages to having them not match, which are like really stupid. You didn't ask this, but I'll volunteer it. 2012 YCS Toronto, Mirror Force had just gone from 1 to 2. And the way you play around Mirror Force is you switch all but one guy to defense mode before you attack. So if they flip Mirror Force, only the attack mode one dies. Mirror Force for years had been so good that it had to be at 1, and it suddenly went to 2. And that means 2 things. 1, you're now 2.5 times more likely to get Mirror Forced. And 2, it's not so good that you should only be allowed 1 copy of it. So I still wanted to only play 1 copy of it, but I still ran a second one. And the way I got around that was that I main decked my MRD Ultra, and I side decked a Duelist Pack Yugi Super. And then in game 2, after I Mirror Forced them, I would side the Ultra one out and side the Super Rare one in. So that in game 2, when they attacked, or I milled, or Inzektor Hornet popped, or whatever, and put the Super Rare one in my graveyard, it would tell them there's a second one still in my deck, and they would keep switching guys to defense mode, even though there was no Mirror Force in there. Because like the card's it's bad. You don't want to play 2 of it. Playing 2 of them is a mistake, but there was still advantage to gain from like having 2 copies of the card. And if all of my Mirror Forces matched, I don't have that advantage. So like there is like tiny stupid little reasons to just have like every goddamn card, and even arguably in every language, so that like you don't have to have translations on you to play in Germany and like all this other nonsense. But Yu-Gi-Oh is not the NHL. I'm not getting paid $100,000 a tournament to freaking play. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars a year to play this game. If I was, yeah, I would take it that seriously. I would have 3 of every card in every edition, rarity, and language. like just good to go. I'd probably have that in Europe and in Australia and in North America and in South America in like little warehouses that I pay rental space for. So when I travel, I just go there and get my cards. That way I don't have to travel overseas with them on the plane. Like there are you could take this game so much more seriously than anybody does. You really could.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And Milano says that's vintage technology. Like, what's crazy is that's such a cool strategy to have the two rarities, like one in the side, one in the main, and swap them. But what's funny is that that only will work against like the top level players, right? Someone that would notice, okay, the
Yeah,
mirror
no,
force are
exactly.
used in game one,
The
and
trick is to use their mind against them.
mm,
If you sit there and your opponent starts summoning and you just slowly start counting to 5 to like try and pretend you have Nibiru, all you've done is tell them that you don't. Like
mm.
no one's ever going to fall for that. The way you successfully bluff in this game is by letting them come to the conclusion themselves. You just have to feed them bad information. You can't pretend to have good information. You have to let them infer bad information.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Um, I can give you another example of like crazy rarity swap stuff if you want.
yeah, yeah.
I've got a nasty one from 2015.
Yeah,
No,
please do. Milano says Yu-Gi-Oh is all about the details, and says Dan, you're spitting, and you are spitting right now. It's really cool to hear.
uh, so I had a deck. I might have been 2017. Were links? I think links were a thing. I can't remember anymore. It's too
Links
long.
came out summer 2017.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what year, what YCS Niagara I did this, and I think links existed, so it might have been 2017, not 2016. But I noticed a particular exploit with Yu-Gi-Oh deck lists, and that's that you write the name of the card and the quantity, and that's it. So you're familiar with those double deck boxes.
Yeah.
Um, another thing that happened in 2013, a kid had shown up to a event with a Monster Reborn in his second of the two deck boxes, a common Monster Reborn, and that was because he was playing a Hobby League one, and players had told him Hobby League cards weren't legal. So he brought a common one with him just in case he got told he can't play it to swap them out. And unfortunately, he got DQ'd for deliberately having 2 copies of Monster Reborn in his deck box.
Hmm.
He didn't get suspended, which is why we have a penalty committee, but he did get DQ'd for the rest of that tournament. And like it's tragic and it's sad. He got punished for trying to do the right thing, but you're not allowed to have anything in your deck box that isn't in your deck. It doesn't say anything about a second deck box. And so that's where the stupid I can't believe I ever got away with this crap happened. And you could still do this today, I think. Although judges will be like really upset with you if you do, so probably don't. But in my backpack, I had 2 deck boxes that both had the exact same deck, card for card, that matched my deck list identically. One of them was a $2,200 max rarity Chainburn deck, and the other was a $42 minimum rarity Chainburn deck. All commons. Common potted dualities instead of ulti potted dualities, everything common versus ulti. And if I sat down across from an opponent who had a Spellground mat and one of those chibi Dark Magician Girl deck boxes and the TI-83 calculator, I see that grin on your face. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
The performative duelist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sit across from that guy.
Yeah.
I reach into my backpack and I pull out my tub of butter deck box. And inside, in the sandwich bag, the Ultra Pro sleeved up, common ass Chainburn deck with no playmat. If I sit across from a guy who is using basic player's choice sleeves, he's got a hoodie on, he's just here to have a good time, whatever, out comes the rubber playmat, the regional deck box, the ultied out, blinged out crazy Chainburn deck, because the performative duelist sits across from me and goes, I can't believe I'm losing to this pile of commons, and he goes on tilt. But the other duelist looks at the blinged out deck and goes, this guy could have been using full power Necros against me and chose to do this to me anyway. He could afford any deck he wanted, and he chose to use this cancerous burn crap on me. And that's what makes him go on tilt. Different people are upset differently about different things. And there is no rule that says that I can't just switch my entire deck out as long as it just matches my deck list. And the rarity's not written anywhere on the sheet. So I'm just between rounds, I just pull a different deck box out of my bag. The deck I present my opponent matches my list. Everything I'm doing is completely legal. I'm just getting a mental edge and putting my opponent on tilt by just taking advantage of his discriminations, of his assumptions, like his prejudices. That's what I'm looking for. His prejudices that he will put on me as a person, I can use against him to just make him play worse and make like stupid assumptions about like what I can and can't do to him.
Yeah,
Someone
no,
in chat, what if the opponent has proper hygiene? We're not getting into that. Call a
yeah,
judge if he does.
like I can 100% confirm that this would work. Like this would actually have an impact in your tournament play. Like, oh my god, I know JY offers some chewing gum. I just do that to be nice. If I'm gonna have a piece of gum, I'll offer my opponent some gum too. There's no mind games there. But like the one story that comes to mind is when Ultimate Brilliant Fusion came out as like an OTS. My friend managed to get a play set for me to play right away, and Spiral was still a deck. So my opponent like summoned drones against me and looked to the top three cards and was like, "How do you have this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you see Ultimate Brilliant Fusion there, right?" He was like, "Yeah," and it was just a funny interaction. But yeah, that is I can't like you took it to the extreme. You had two decks. That's crazy. And did you like? I'm assuming you had people go on tilt. Like, did you do any
Oh,
interesting?
every round.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that I won 4 Winamats that weekend with that deck.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I played in the main event with Ultrageist, so yeah, it would have been 2018. I played in the main event with Ultrageist, but I played in all the side events with the Chainburn pile because it was and still is to this day the most imbalanced deck in the game. You are you familiar with expected value?
Yeah.
A lot of those older cards, like Giant Trunade, were designed at a time where like game balance doesn't exist. Like it's why they're all still banned to this day. Like Magical Scientist comes out today. There's no universe in which it's not hard once per turn, right? Like, probably pays a lot more than 1,000 life points too. It probably pays like half your life to summon only a vanilla fusion, and like you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, and you can only use this hard once per turn. Like game balance exists in 2026, and it did not in 2002 and 3. However, every banned card from 2002 and 3 was put there based on usage, not necessarily threat level. Raw Magical Library is still legal, and boy, it shouldn't be, but nobody uses it. And like, if Ash Blossom had come out in 2005, it would have gone to 1. Like, they were hitting the cards people were using to get them to use other cards. They weren't trying to like form these formats for people to play in. So there's cards from before 2005 that aren't on the ban list because no one was using them, but they're every bit as stupid as Dimension Fusion and Giant Trunade and Yatagarasu and stuff. They're just burn cards. They play differently. As far as expected value goes, if I have a 5-card hand and you have 8,000 life points, if my card does 1,600 damage, that's the expected value requirement. If you have 5 cards in your hand that all say inflict 1,600 damage to your opponent, and you play all 5 of them, you win the duel. It's the best deck of all time. Like, every single copy of that card in your hand is better than Engage. It is better than Brilliant Fusion. Like, you pick a card, it's not as good as a card that literally just says 20% of the game is done. Because if all 5 of the cards in your hand say, I win 20% of the duel, you have won the duel. Just Desserts says do 500 damage for every monster your opponent controls. 3,000 damage sometimes. Secret Barrel, 200 for every card they have. Secret Blast, 300 for every card they have, and 1,000 more if they're stupid enough to pop it. Like, it is so unbelievably easy. Sky Striker Ace Hayate attacks directly for 1,500 and can be summoned off of Hornet Drones. It is 100 shy of literally being that 1600 EV card. And if you go second, the number drops to 14. It's 1400s. So if you're going second and you draw Hornet Drones, you drew the best card in the game by just summoning Ate and attacking with it. That is better than every legal card in a vacuum. Because if any card had an EV higher than that, it would already be on the ban list. So,
Wow.
like, if you have a deck that is nothing but cards that say burn for 1600, or Into the Void to draw into one, or Wabaku to skip their turn, effectively giving you a draw, so the only things you have are those burn cards, you're good to go. And that's literally what that burn deck was. It was just EV burn pile, expected value burn pile, bananas nonsense. Now, the loss condition is invoked Mechaba, right? Like, all of a sudden, one of those cards gets negated, and the other four now have to do 2,000 each. If a second one gets negated, the other three have to do 2,700 each. Those are not realistic targets to hit. But when people try and play Chain Burn, the namesake, the chain, is Chain Strike. So they set like Chain Strike, it does 400 per chain link, and your opponent MSTs your Just Desserts. Like they summon Breaker the Magical Warrior and try and pop your Just Desserts, God forbid, right? In order to get the most out of Chain Strike, you flip up your Just Desserts, and it only does like 500. But it just got popped. Or if they pop your Chain Strike and you flip it up right now, it's only going to do 800. In order to get it to the 1600 that you need it to hit, you now have to flip up your Just Desserts and your Secret Barrel, and both of them do like way less than 1600. Chain Strike is literally the worst card in the deck. It is like fundamentally lowering the EV of every single other card in your deck to play it. And it's the only one they've ever put on the Forbidden and Limited list.
Wow.
It's the same with like Accumulated Fortune. It's like it has to be like Chainlink 4, so it just forces you to flip up all your stuff prematurely. Like, it's terrible. It's garbage. Like, you should not be playing either of those cards. Just play Wabakus, Threatening Roars, Secret Barrel, Secret Blast, Just Desserts, that one Time Lord that cuts their life points in half for breathing. Like, you could just play the deck way better, and all of the cards are at 3 because no one's ever done it. And I gave that deck to a guy in Toronto, and he gave it to a little dude who goes to his locals, and that kid won Worlds, Dragon Duel Worlds.
Ryan!
Freaking Chain Burn pile.
Ryan, you!
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was literally the whole time you were talking about. I was thinking, there's no way. Like, did you give Ryan you this deck? Like,
Indirectly, third party, but yeah.
that's crazy. Oh my god. Yeah, that's mad. Um, yeah, that's really awesome to hear about. And I'm just gonna switch up the topics real quick because
Sure,
we've
of course.
been on for a while. And I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I got
Really appreciate. So thoughts on Logan Paul entering the Yu-Gi-Oh scene, and like, do you think he'll have a positive impact on the game and the market? And yeah, just your thoughts about that.
It takes me back to 2021. When Logan Paul entered the scene for like Pokemon, all of the card games ballooned, and then all these people had like the stimulus checks, and every hobby kind of ballooned. You can't spend your money on a concert or a movie anymore, so you start buying cardboard. I think a big part of it is that, again, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a player's game. So there's going to be a lot of Logan Paulites, Logang members, I don't know what you want to call them, but they're going to buy something like Forbidden Crown because it's the $100 card and grade it. And that is not a card to grade. That like, it's going to be worth $15 a year from now. Like, they're all just going to get burned tremendously. I remember in 2021, the first card I ever saw that was newer than like Ancient Sanctuary, that wasn't like a vintage Yu-Gi-Oh card that I ever saw on a slab, wasn't a Stardust Dragon, it wasn't a Black Rose Dragon, it wasn't an Araneos, it was a triple Tactics Talent Starlight Rare. Someone graded in 2021. I was like, okay, this is stupid. Everybody in this market is a goddamn moron, and it's time to sell all my cards and buy a house. Because like the game of musical chairs has started, and that music is going to stop sometime in 2022, and I'm just going to get in a chair right the hell now before everyone starts racing for that chair. There's an awful lot of idiots with a lot more money than brains, and I want their money like right now. So I just started like selling everything I could until I just let Aaron take care of it. I just sold him like what I had left, like I said, for like 90 grand, so he could flip it all on eBay for like 200. But if you are getting a card that came out after 2005 as an investment, you have already like fumbled the bag. Maybe the overframes, definitely the Grandmaster rares, nothing else. Like, goddamn, do not buy and grade a quarter century Fuelos. Like, don't do that. None of these cards have value because they're collectible. They're valuable because they're useful as tools. And a fool and his money are soon parted, and Logan is directing those fools where to part their money. So that's going to be great for us short term. But I won't deny that things like Doom of Dimensions and Duelist Advance sitting on store shelves collecting dust is worse for the game than Logan Paul's are. But like when people see like Logan Paul, they're like, oh, it's over. Like we're screwed now. And it's like, why are you screwed? Because sealed product is going to be over MSRP. It's been on the shelf for a year for half MSRP and you're still not buying it. So why do I care that you're complaining? Like, you are literally so full of shit, your eyes have turned brown. Like, I don't care about your opinion on the price of sealed product. You're not going to buy it anyway, so you're complaining over nothing. But I do think that we need a reason for product to stay at MSRP or higher so that stores are still willing to stock the game. I would rather the box be $200 than $40 because the stores will actually buy boxes. And those people chasing those crazy overframe cards, they don't give a shit about your Swens and Eldums and stuff. So you'll still be able to get them. In fact, you'll be able to get them easier. You remember 10,000 Dragon, Battles of Legend Armageddon 2011? Have you ever seen the price of like appliancer cards? Like, I'm pretty sure I can get 100 copies of the Appliancer Ultra Rare for 1 cent. Like, the Sunlight Wolf Ultra Rare reprint or whatever, there were stores on TCG Player that had 5,000 copies of it listed because everyone was just chasing after 10,000 Dragon. They didn't care about the rest of the cards in the set. The things you're so worried about, like, oh my god, the product's going to be $200 a box. How am I ever going to get my Red Dragon Archfiend cards out of Blazing Dominion? Don't worry about it. There's going to be more of them for sale than any card you've ever seen in your entire life if that happens, because everyone's going to be opening that product and none of them want your Red Dragon Archfiend cards. So, like, the Logan Paul effect will make sealed product more expensive, but it will make singles the cheapest you've ever seen them in your life, because the only cards you're not going to be able to get your hands on are the Grandmaster rares, and you probably weren't going to anyway.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, and hopefully people can take a lot away from this video. And my good friend YG Panda says, I like this guy, smart guy. And another one of my friends, Nugs, so full of shit, your eyes have turned brown, bars. Yeah, and on the same kind of like vein, um, recently in the last kind of few years, there have been a lot of, celebrities that are like playing the game or like, expressing their interest in the game. There's like the singer Zayn Malik from One Direction, Xavier
True.
Woods, a WWE, a guy, Cassius Marsh, an NFL athlete, Uzi Vert, Juice
Word.
World, RIP, like, and most recently, Timothy Chalamet, was pictured playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
players who are like in the closet can now kind of come out the closet and be like, yo, Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of cool now. But what are your thoughts on like these celebrities and their impact in the scene?
I think a lot of them, like Dylan Spruce and Timothy Chalamet, if you asked them to pick Stardust Dragon out of a police lineup, would fail. Um, there is, like I said, when Master Duel came out, hundreds of people in my DMs that I went to high school with being like, hey, I want to like play Yu-Gi-Oh now. And like they don't want to play what Yu-Gi-Oh is, they want to play what they think Yu-Gi-Oh is. And they just remember Exodia, Blue Eyes, if you're lucky, Slifer and Obelisk, etc. Like if they lasted till Battle City, if you're lucky. But like they remember the Red Eyes and Dark Magician, like the OG stuff. Um, Timothy Chalamet, same thing. He played Yu-Gi-Oh on the playground in 2002, like the rest of us of a certain age. Uh, a lot of these celebrities, a lot of them, vast majority of them, are not actually like Yu-Gi-Oh players. They are people who have touched a Yu-Gi-Oh card fondly 24 years ago. Um, there are people who play Yu-Gi-Oh at a very high level, not as high a level as you, but a higher level than some of the people you go to locals with, that are reasonably famous. Maxwell Frost comes to mind. He's the congressman for the 10th District of Florida. Due to straight up in the U.S. House of Representatives, like tearing down Jeffrey Epstein and the people on the client list. And that guy like topped a regional with Machina Gear Frame, like straight up Yu-Gi-Oh player.
What?
There's also Ryan Hunter from Ontario. He has a Super Bowl ring. He literally won the 2019 Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that guy bought a Chaos Emperor Dragon, the Dragon of Armageddon prize card from me for $1,000 to play in his Chaos Dragon deck at a regional in Kansas while he was living in Missouri. Like, or not Missouri. Kansas City is the capital of Missouri, but no, the state is Kansas, and Kansas City is in Missouri. So he was living in Missouri. Sorry. It's really complicated and stupid because like the city is not, and the football franchise is not in the state that it's named from, but that's neither here nor there. There are like extraordinarily famous people who do play the game, but your Antoine Griezmanns and Myanmar Juniors and stuff, they are just Yu-Gi-Oh fans. They're not Yu-Gi-Oh players. They remember the OG anime. They don't know who Jaden Yuki is. They don't know what an elemental hero is. That one guy from the Olympics who had like the blue eyes and Exodia pieces on him and stuff, like he's just an OG anime fan. He's not a duelist.
Yeah.
So
Was it
I do
Noah
think
Lyles? The sprinter? Was it Noah Lyles, I think?
that sounds right. I can't actually remember. So,
Yeah, something
but
like that, yeah.
as far as like coming out of the closet as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I don't think that they ever were in there. I think if you had just asked them like, "Hey, do you remember the Yu-Gi-Oh anime?" They'd be like, "Oh yeah, you activated my trap card. That was so cool. I remember that. That was awesome." And the reason you're hearing them like come out of the closet about it is just because Yu-Gi-Oh has entered popular discourse. So they are just saying like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." But as far as like crazy famous duelists, it is still like our niche little corner. There is like Esam, who was on my competitive esports team back in like 2011. He's a Smash Bros player, big Pikachu main. I taught him how to play Fire Kings, and he topped a YCS with Fire Kings. Shout out to him. Like
Wow.
there's like, but like that's still just being a competitive gamer and just like hopping into another game. Like you're not gonna very often see like, Sammy Hagar of Van Halen fame playing Radiant Typhoon. Like it's not going to happen, really. It's just not. And then like people like Logan Paul, they're here to flip cards for money. They're not here to enter YCS events. And also, they don't have the real money anyway. Like there are people in the collector space from Japan, or one guy from Puerto Rico comes to mind. They have like stupid money. Like they make like NFL players look poor, and they spend like that. That's where like your world's prize cards end up. Like Logan Paul and his fandom, they're going to buy PSA 10 Blue Eyes White Dragons from LOB, and they're going to inflate them up to like $80,000 to $100,000, and that's going to be good for them. Very fancy, very happy for you. It's nothing compared to the like $2 million that metal BLS sold for. It's nothing compared to like Tyler the Great Warrior that sold to that dude in LA. It's nothing compared to like the Mattel Cyber Dragon that's worth infinite amount of money. There's only one of them, and it's with the same guy in LA. Like the Ulavo, I can't even believe what that card must be worth. It's just, it's staggering what some of these like people have and how much money they have and the things they collect. Like PSA 10 is nothing. You take that same card and you get it graded at BGS, and it will get a 9, maybe a 9.5, and they score like 4 different things out of 10. And if all 4 of them come 10 and you get like a perfect 40, then the label turns black and it's like a pristine 10 instead of a mint 10. A gem mint becomes like a pristine. I did not even know a pristine Yu-Gi-Oh card existed before 2022. I met a guy who has 4 Blue Eyes White Dragons and 4 different artworks in pristine 10, and he spent 150 grand on each one of them.
What?
But they're all private sales, so like you don't hear like it's like they are way more valuable than like any PSA 10 Blue Eyes, and like Logan Paul will never get his hands on any of them because this dude has every pristine 10 Blue Eyes that has ever surfaced. And this same dude spent $10 million buying a T-Rex skull from a museum to put in his living room. Like these people, like that's where the real money is. Like these Logan Paul types are just here to flip for a quick buck and get out. They're nothing compared to like these crazy whales in Japan and Thailand that are buying like the Gemini Elf alt art for like $75,000, and it's not even like a graded card. They just want like the card to put in their trophy cabinet in their store. Like
Wow.
way
Yeah.
different.
It's insane. It's insane. Um, do you think Yu-Gi-Oh has like passed its peak?
Define peak.
Just like every kind of like thing, has like, a peak, right? And then it begins to kind of drop down.
So of like
Um,
enjoyability, of player base size, of monetary value.
um, I think if you were to like generalize it, like I guess the popularity, player base, and I guess those two things, I guess, and its place in the community,
Then I
or
think
its
the
place
peak
in
was all the way
the
back in
TCG
like
space.
2003.
Really?
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh had more people playing it in 2003 than it has today. It exploded and then got like banned in schools and fell off a cliff, as all things good do. And from then, like in like that 2004, like the only people who survived are the people going to like locals. It has exclusively grown until 2017. The game was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But even in 2017, I don't think it ever got as big as it was in like 2002, 2003. Link Monsters came out and the player base cut in half. And then it has exclusively grown since then again. And it is bigger this year than it was last year. And last year it was bigger than the year before that. And like you can measure it nice and easy. Look at a Kasi ID. Bring someone to locals with you who has never been there. Have them register a Kasi ID. You are in Europe. Your Kasi ID starts with 0300 whatever. That number is the Kasi ID registration number. So your number, you've been playing this game since before 2017. Your Kasi ID is probably 03004. Just ballparking it.
0303.
0303. Okay. If you bring someone to locals like this coming Saturday and get him to sign up for one, I bet you it starts with like 0309 because there's been like 600,000 people have signed up for a Kasi ID since you got yours.
Wow.
And you can do that like once a year and see how many people signed up at an OTS like each year. Like you can like measure it and see that the gap gets bigger, not smaller, like every single time that number like goes up. The USA is 01 blank, Canada is 02, South America is 04, Europe is 03, Japan is 05. Their numbers obscene. Their numbers already start with 051. It's like holy crap, they've got so many people playing in Japan. It's unbelievable. But like my Kasi ID is 0200000164. So
Wow.
like, but I got it when Kasi IDs first opened, like back in 2010. So, oh man, old as hell. But yeah, like that's another thing you can do. Getting back to like the mental warfare thing, you can look at the Kasi ID of your opponent and see how old they are and how like long they've been playing the game. And in theory, you could do the 2 deck box trick, or at least like go in your binder and swap out. If the guy if his Kasi ID starts at like 0308 or higher, then he has seen the alt art of Ash Blossom more than the original one. So you want to use the old art of it so that he takes a little longer reacting to the card. Whereas if his Kasi ID is 0303 like yours, I switch to the alt art one. That way you take like an extra half second realizing which hand trap I discarded. And it makes you like break your concentration, so you lose your combo focus a little bit. Like, just again, stupid tiny little things, but there's thousands of them in this game. If you really want them, they're there.
Yeah, I feel like you got like Sun Tzu's like Art of War. We need like Dan Parker's like Art of Yu-Gi-Oh! Mind Games. That should be your book. Like, forget about Road of the King. That should be like yeah, your thing there. And we had someone ask about the resurgence of older formats like Edison and Goat. What are your thoughts on that?
So Goat was 2013. It was a resistance to Spellbook Dragon Ruler format, where Cossacks were $200, Big Eyes were $200, Priestesses and Spellbook of Judgments were $200. Like it, in a world where every Yu-Gi-Oh deck cost somewhere around $600, suddenly it became a 2-deck format, and both of them were over $1,000. So people needed a safe space to go. And Patrick Hoban had written an article on ARG about how the most skillful format of all time was GOAT format, because it makes you use skills that don't exist in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And like they sure as hell don't now. If I have a card and I want to protect it from Morphing Jar, I can do that by setting. But I can't then protect it from Heavy Storm because it's on the field. If my opponent sets a monster and then sets 4 back row and passes his turn, probably Morphing. So I'm better off setting my card. And it's sure as hell not going to be vulnerable to Heavy Storm. Dude just set like 4 back row. So what do you do if he sets 1 back row and 1 monster, the classic T set, and passes turn? And that's a question that no one in the year 2026 has asked themselves even once, because it just doesn't happen anymore. If you T set against me, nice Ash Blossom, right? Like, it's got 1800 defense and it's a vanilla, I don't care. But like those skills don't really exist, but they do in simplified game states or games that go like more than 3 turns. And Hoban was saying a big reason for his success was that he practiced a lot of GOAT format to learn those soft skills and bring them to advanced format, and that everyone should try out GOAT format and learn good Yu-Gi-Oh! Fundamentals. And I agree with that on principle. I just think GOAT format's the wrong way to go about it. But that made GOAT format like take off, because suddenly people needed a place to get away from advanced Dragon Ruler spellbook crap. And GOAT format was basically free to play. It was all cards from 2005 that were worthless. Metamorphosis is a banned common. Like, how hard could that be to pay for? And so you could just build this cheap little GOAT format deck, and GOAT format grew into the biggest retro format of all time because it was the retro format to play. At the time, this is still like 2013, I was telling people, mostly Dueling Network admins in like the Skype group chat, because there's no Discord yet, I was telling people and like tournament organizers on Dueling Network, GOAT format's the wrong one to do this in. If you want a format that's going to actually use traps as traps and monsters as monsters, Raikou, Hamster, like flip effects and stuff, the actual format you want to be doing this in is Edison. Like, Edison had like 16 different decks, everything was a lot healthier, and the game actually like was using these fundamentals. And it wasn't just like who drew Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity first, which is what GOAT format, GOAT control mirrors turn into, is like how many pieces of the Trinity did you draw crap. And there's all these FTKs and so on. So Edison format is something that I personally championed and tried to get like off the ground way back then. And Dueling Network went on to like close for the reasons it did. And then I started seeing Fraser Smith talking about like Edison and how like this is like the better one to play, and like really like popularizing it. And I was like, I wonder if that was my fault. Like, if like of all the formats to like go back to, like I was the one like planting like those seeds like 4 or 5 years ago, kind of thing. But I don't want to like single-handedly take credit and be like the reason people play Edison is that I was like pushing it on like GOAT people back then. But I do feel like the reason it was Edison that was chosen over like hat format and Meadowlands and a few other around it. Is that I had a whole bunch of people that I was like pushing Edison on back then. But I feel like those people that I pushed it on, they're the ones that pushed it on other people and made it a thing. So like I don't like necessarily deserve any credit for that. But I do think that like as far as the original question, the reemergence of like those past formats, they come from a place of escape where like you're just so dissatisfied with the state of the current format that you're looking for a place to retreat to. But I've already talked about like you're trying to retreat to a time of lower skill, not of lower card pool. So I do think that like the fundamentally healthier thing to do, rather than taking a snapshot of a game that didn't know to ban certain things yet and going back and pretending like they were, like I'm sure at some point in your life you've gone on Dueling Book and looked at the GOAT format thing and it says no empty jar, no reversal quiz, no FTKs, no blah blah blah. It's like you don't want to play GOAT format. You want to play GOAT mirrors. Like you don't care about the format. You care about the mirror match with this like arbitrary goalpost that doesn't exist in real life. You could just apply those to current format rather than like retreating to a time of like different rules and asking the question, if I play Shallow Grave and my opponent sets Raikou and I mind control the Raikou, am I allowed to flip it? And the only people who can answer that question for you are people as old as me, and you have to fucking track them down on Discord, and I get asked this question like 50 times a week. Like, rather than putting yourself through that, just curate advanced format with the friends you're trying to play with in a way that makes it feel fundamentally healthier. Like, we could just play advanced format right now without Droll and Lockbird. The only reason it's not banned is that if you ban it, you don't want to see the deck I take to an event. Droll and Lockbird is legal to stop people like me from doing things to you that you don't even want to know about. But because Droll and Lockbird as a necessary evil exists, it also means that there's just a whole bunch of duels that get ruined by it. You could just with your friends play without Droll and get the same enjoyment and shit that you would out of just playing Edison and not make yourself like rustier at like modern interactions and modern decks and not go out there and buy shit like magical android instead of cards that you could be taking to a YCS and actually like getting real results with. Like you could just play Radiant Typhoon in a world where Droll's not legal by just telling your friends, hey, we're playing without Droll. It's not like you're going to a sanctioned Edison tournament, right? Like there was for a bit Time Wizard and Time Travel. I won't deny that like you do have that option once a month with travel. But as far as like your local like GOAT scene, you're already putting up those arbitrary goalposts and telling everyone we have to live within them. There's no reason you can't just make your own damn format where things are fun and healthy. And you could just do it to like the cards you already have by just like banning the stupid shit like Droll and Lockbird and Dimension Shifter. Yeah. And like you could just ban Lancia and every Malice card and be like, hey, suddenly my Chaos Dragon deck doesn't suck to play because everyone's got fucking Lancia in their deck. Like you could just actually have fun with it. There's nothing stopping you but yourself.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your take on that. You said you spit a lot of truth there, a lot of truth. I really need to go to the toilet, so I'm just gonna pop to the loo real quick, and I'll be right back, guys.
You got it. And I will check my Discord messages, of which I'm sure I have many, and I do. Just found out his dad's name is Michael A. Jordan. Oh, dum-de-dum. How's chat doing? Hope you guys are enjoying the what is it called? Between the Rounds? Yeah, Between the Rounds number 5. I hope you guys are enjoying. Probably should try and take questions from chat, especially where we've got some downtime. I assume you guys can hear me. If you guys want to put questions in chat while he's away, and then I'll answer them when he comes back. And you can just like populate it with, I don't know, 5 or 6.
I'm back, guys.
Welcome back.
Dragon FAF says, "Hey Dan, what does my COSI ID 0103 say about me?"
That you got it pretty recently. I got to count the digits here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so they're 10 digits long, and the first 2 digits are the country you're from. So 01 is the United States. So your next one is 03. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th digit. So you are the 3 millionth person in the United States to get a COSI ID minimum, is what it says about you.
Wow. Milano says that whereabouts do you live in Canada? And also, Milano, I don't know if you missed it, but we're gonna sort you out a T-shirt as well. Like I'm gonna try to get a shirt too. So Dan's also in Canada. And
2015. So there's been 3 million COSI IDs since 2015 in the United States. That's wild. I look at the
yeah.
Canadian ones. They all start with 02. So
And speaking about like retro formats, recently we had Genesis.
sure.
What are your thoughts about Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis? I feel like the player base is quite divided on it because they see it's kind of seen as like a watered down version of like the current TCG format, right? But yeah, what's your take on Genesis?
When I first saw it, I went like, "Oh, cool! This is perfect." Because there are so many cards like Butterfly Dagger Elma that I'm not allowed to use for just the dumbest reasons. But by simply putting like 1 point on that and 100 points on Royal Magical Library, now I can use Elma. Problems solved. And if I want to use Royal Magical Library, I just can't with Elma. It allows you to achieve something the ban list doesn't, which is you're not allowed to use this card if you're using this other card. So that's first, and I really, really like that. It's something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has needed since 2004. How cool would it have been to say that you can't play Yada and Sangan in the same deck, right? But when I first looked at that and they said no links and no pens, my immediate thought was 2016, even though it should have been 2013, because that's pre-Pendulum. And then I thought to myself, like, okay, well, every deck that needs links is now just Fubard. Like, I'm just never, ever going to get away with playing, like, Ad Ignister in this format. It's not going to happen. But there are themes like Branded, for example, or Gladiator Beast that are very fusion-oriented and still have cards that came out in, like, 2024. Like that new Gladiator Beast fusion that just says get an extra battle phase and stuff. So it was like, okay, so those must be the best decks in this format because they have the most power creep without relying on link monsters. And then they also have like power creep designed to keep up with link monsters in a world without link monsters. So they're just going to be the fastest, stupidest, strongest decks. And sure enough, that initial points list was like, fuck every branded card, fuck every gladiator beast card. Like, if you are a non-linking deck, you probably did not survive the Great Purge of Genesis List 1. And so I was like, brilliant. This is now like just like 2013 era power. And like when like they release new stuff, they can just like release it with like tons of points and just keep like a nice retro-ish feeling format. And I love that. And then products started coming out. And Fallen and the Virtuous came out with a ton of points on it, and I was like, beautiful. They're sticking to this. I'm really happy with that. It makes sense. Like, Branded should not exist in Genesis, or if it does, it should be like you get one fusion monster, not 15. You can play Mirror Jade and nobody else, kind of thing, so that it's on that same power level as everybody else back then. And then, like, not Justice Hunters, Phantom Revengers came out, and it was like, yeah, this Cool Tune card has like 3 points on it. I was like, what the fuck do you mean it has like 3 points on it? And Doom of Dimensions came out, and it was like, yeah, none of the Radiant Typhoon cards have points. And it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And like the Draco Tail deck is a fusion deck, and it's like, yeah, there's like 33 points on 5 mana and nothing else. And it's like, you guys had this opportunity to make like a retro feeling format, and instead all you did was make Diet Advanced. It's just the same meta, but from Timu. Like, it's fucking terrible. Like, the fucking main event finals is Branded Dracotail against Radiant Typhoon, and the Genesis finals is Branded Dracotail against Radiant Typhoon, but he doesn't have Vavaroon, the fucking Eidolon, whatever the shit in his extra deck, and that's the only goddamn difference. It's like, why? And it's because they're just trying to still sell Doom of Dimensions and Phantom Revengers packs to the Genesis players. And it's like, you guys could do that by just like putting the reprints in Phantom Revengers and make them Genesis coded cards. The same way you put freaking GOAT format reprints in Speed Duel products, freaking Secret Rare Airnight Parshath and Metamorphosis. That one didn't happen, but should have. Like, the Phantom Revengers is a 45 card OCG set with 5 reprints for each of the 3 themes, but when we get it in English, it's a 60 card reprint set with 15 extra cards. All 15 those extra cards could have just been Genesis coded reprints, and they could have slapped fucking 100 points on every single Cool Tune monster and said, fuck you, play Advanced if you want to play Cool Tune. Genesis is for Genesis players. And instead, they went, we need to sell as many Cool Tune cards as possible to the Genesis players too. And that's either a mandate from Japan forcing them to enshittify their format, or the person in charge doesn't know what they're doing. And it's really upsetting that the longer Genesis is going on, the more homogenized into just diet meta it's becoming. And it really upsets me because the potential is there for it to be so, so good. And it's just not. Started off awesome, but it took them like 4 months to run it into the ground and just turn it into meta without link monsters.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the player base definitely resonate with that, and hopefully they can kind of, learn from it and kind of balance it out and make it what it's supposed to be and reach the potential that it has. Um, there's one particular topic that a lot of players have discussed. It's a particular hand trap, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring.
Okay.
I feel like the base is quite divided on whether or not this card should be banned or not. Like, for example, Joshua Schmidt is well known for talking about why he thinks Ash Blossom should be banned. What are your thoughts on Ash Blossom?
So I actually have an article I wrote for TCG Player in which I call Ash Blossom the second most overrated Yu-Gi-Oh card of all time, behind Pot of Extravagance. It's an extremely controversial article, but it's because people read the headline, scroll down and look at the 10 cards, make it opinion, and leave the article and go, this Dan guy doesn't know what he's talking about, without reading my reasoning for anything. First and foremost, Ash Blossom is on a list of overrated cards. It is a 3 of in every single deck. 100% of them at max copies, which means it should be the greatest card of all time. It is, as far as rating it goes, given a perfect score, 100 out of 100. It's a 3 of in every single person's deck. It could not be any higher rated. Is it the best card of all time? No. Therefore, it is overrated. It's no more complicated than that. That said, Ash Blossom is hard once per turn, can only respond to a specific type of interaction, and is 110% reliant on the opponent. So when you don't have a card like Helka Fibrax being like yummy, yummy tuner, it is a black hole that sits in your deck and raises your loss rate. It just loses you games and sits in your hand and stares at you, and it just sucks to have. But recently, the trend of card design has been to enable grind game with lower impact cards. So we have an awful lot of cards that are like, hey, I just trade like 1 for 1, but then I replace myself later. Dracotail Flame comes to mind. And in order for these cards to create some semblance of grind game, they have been floating or drawing a card. And because of that, if I open even 2 Ash Blossoms going against like a Dracotail player, I have 1 for your Rahu this turn, and then I have 1 for your Flame on my turn. And suddenly opening 2 Ashes is a fucking good thing. It's gone from the punishment you make for building your deck bad to being a reward you get because your opponent is playing the best deck in the room. And that's really unhealthy and stupid. I do think that for years, Ash should have never been at more than 1 copy. We don't have Max C. In Master Duel, I play 3 Ash, and I always have, because if you don't Ash Max C, you lose the game. I max out on Called By, Max C, Ash Blossom, Cross a Designator, all that, because you have to. We didn't have that problem in the TCG for half a decade. We didn't have that problem. And so, like, we just didn't play Ash in things like Tearlaments because it's not a good card. It's become one. And I do think that there is this sort of arms race between the decks and the counterplay, in that in order for your deck to be playable, you have to be able to play through Ash. If I normal summon, I get Ash in my turn ends, that deck cannot be brought to a tournament. So I need my deck to be able to play through a hand trap. And now everybody's on that deck, and Ash Blossom's not enough, and Spiral starts winning everything. You were there. So suddenly we now need to have 2 hand traps, or we just lose. And so now the new combo decks that come out, if I summon Snake Eye Ash and you Veiler it, and then I summon Dia Bellstar the Black Witch and you Imperm it, I have to be able to go Moon of the Closed Heaven. Full combo. I have to be able to play through 2 hand traps. Or what are we even doing? So now you start having to open 3 hand traps. And sooner or later, my cards are going to have to play through 3 hand traps, and this arms race is just completely unsustainable until every deck needs to be a 1-card starter and 4 hand traps opening hand of every single game where you just lose, and like that's ridiculous and terrible. Something needs to be done to bring that back in. But the existential problem is that there are Veiler, Mourner, Imperm, Ash Blossom, Gamma, more of them. Sorry, none of them are coming to mind immediately, but there's tons more, to the point that like I can play like 25 hand traps in my deck before I run out of good hand traps. Bestials. And then even beyond that, like at the NAWCQ in 2024, I needed to open 3 hand traps. So 50% of my deck had to be hand traps, and I played 50 cards, so I needed 25 hand traps. So I put in Phantasme, which even just draws more cards. It's dumb, and it's homogenizing decks. Everyone is just playing 15 engine, 25 non-engine, and the same 15 engine cards in every deck, and your 25 non-engine is like, did you play the talents? Like, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's boring, it makes every game play the exact same, and it makes people sell spreadsheets telling you how to play the duel before you drew your opening hand. Like, may as well just compare hands and look at the spreadsheet and see who won, and it's just a game of memorizing combos and regurgitating how much of it you memorized. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it, I think it's stupid, but it is a case for how do you make a new theme right now if there's 25 hand traps in people's deck? You have to be able to play through 2 to 3 hand traps, which means people need to have 25 hand traps again, and it's just this stupid unmovable object versus unstoppable force of card design. There's no way out of it, and the only way out is to make a new deck that can only play through 1 or 2 hand traps instead of 2 or 3, and just fuck up a ton of the hand traps on the Forbidden Limited list. I'm talking Ash to 1, Veiler to 1, Bell to 1, Imperm to 0. Like, just fucking gut the number of hand traps people can play so that they can only realistically play like 12 or 13 in their deck again, and then the new decks don't need to be able to play through 3 hand traps anymore. But then you still have the problem of the decks that can, so they also need to just be taken out back and shot in the head. Like, you just need to make a ban list with like 50 goddamn cards on it, and just thin the herd on a bunch of hand traps and a bunch of new cards so that they aren't too consistent, and just be like, our bad. And I think it starts with Ash Blossom. I think that Ash is the one that got too good too quickly. That a lot of these like weaker decks are losing to Ash, and I do think that Ash has also capstoned too many boards. In the last 30 games I've watched, the winner has been decided by someone bricking or someone having an extra card. So you have like you end with like 3 interrupts, and your opponent can play through 3 interrupts, and like you actually have like an engaging duel. But oh, whoops, he had the Ash. Fourth interrupt. That game was just over. And when we're trying not to like go into time and we sit there and we think like, can I even play this duel? Yes, I can play through 3 interrupts, and he ends on 3, so I don't scoop, and I sit there and I try and play through, and I bait the first one and I play a bit more and I bait the second one, and then I play the Rahu Ash. Like so much for like a bunch of the time on that clock. Like healthiest change they could make to Yu-Gi-Oh by far. You open 5, I open 6, we both skip our first draw instead of just you. Let me know what my 6th card is during your first turn. Because then I know if I need to scoop or not. I don't have to sit there and wait the whole friggin' turn to see if my 6th card is droplet.
Yeah, that would be definitely that would be good. That would save a lot of time. And on the, like one big argument for Ash being banned is the Molch armies.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Love the
what
Mulch
do you think?
armies.
Yeah, fan of the Molch armies. What do you think about them?
Yeah, for sure. So the Mulch armies fill a role the game desperately needs, which is stemming the tide. If you were to ban Droll and Lockbird, the crimes I would commit, like you can't even imagine. But Mulch armies, or Max C in particular, does a very similar thing. Um, there was nothing stopping me from playing Cosmo Fire King in 2016 except for the 3 Max Cs in everybody's deck that said you would lose the game. But where all of the Max C proponents, I can't think of the word right now, the people who are in favor of Max C and think it should come back, those people are all in the camp of like, I need Max C to make going second against combo slot viable. And not one of them understands that Max C going first is better than Max C going second. The win rate of board plus Max C is 100%. If I make a whole field and I pass to you, you drop a turn and I just pitch Max C and say do something about it, you either end your turn and lose to the board, or you break the board and I draw so many cards that you just lose anyway. And that is why Max C got banned. And the first thing written on every single Mulch army is, while you control no cards. They recognized that. They took away the fact that, like, if you go first, the Mulch armies are goddamn dog shit. So that was step 1. Step 2 was to make sure that they didn't facilitate anything as a card in hand. And like they're a freaking wind and a water. Like they're none of the Vanquish Soul attributes. They clash with both of the Dominus cards, so you can't play Impulse and a bunch of Mulch armies. Like they knew what they were doing, making them like dog water and like these really obscure attributes and stuff. They also made them not once per turn, but twice per archetype. So if you do open 2 Mulch armies, you can discard both, but they're going to work on like different things, and your opponent's not just going to draw 2 for every single summon you make, unless they're both Fool Loss and you summon from the extra deck, then you would draw 2. But if your opponent double Fool Losses you, and you don't win that duel, that's on you, because your opponent has a 3-card hand, dude. Like, you should be able to, I call it fire fisting, you should be able to fire fist your way through a 3-card opponent's hand very, very easily. That gets back to like pre-Road of the King stuff. The like small and wide stable deck of like normal summon and a bunch of traps is the Fire Fist strategy, and the 2-card combo brr explosion shit, that's the Mermail strategy. And so every deck since 2013 has been a Mermail deck, a Fire Fist deck, or an Evil Swarm deck. Evil Swarm is the bring you down to my level and then beat you with experience thing, D-Shifter and Fluanderies, that kind of stuff. Like your deck is terrible, but your deck is worse in these really bad environments that I've made, Ophion kind of shit. That's ultimately what every deck is, just reduced to one of those 3, or Exodia, which is FTK and doesn't care about playing. But the Mulch armies allow you to stem the tide of overwhelming combo slop, which the game desperately needs, without just making combo slop better, which is what Mech C does. I do think that, again, it's another case of like Ash Blossom should be at 1 at most, because you can just Ash a Molcharmy, and then why does it exist? Ash as Called by the Grave is stupid, but it's also so essential while Max C is legal that like Japan even put Ash to 2 and had to put it back to 3 like immediately, because Max C just completely ruined their game when that happened. So it is a delicate balance of, again, just play versus counterplay, but I think that the Molcharmies ultimately just offer a solution where it stops like combo slop, but it also stops you from just ending with like 20 cards, because you have to shuffle back, and the shuffle backs are even random. And I feel like that doesn't come up a lot because people are like afraid to take the Molcharmy challenge. I'm not. I take it every single time. But I end on boards that only have like 1 or 2 cards. Like I will just like consolidate down to something like an Appaloosa and be like, okay, you still only have like a 6-card hand, but I've got like 3 negates, and you don't even necessarily get to choose what you're keeping. Another thing is the increased abundance of hard once per turn effects. At a regional I played in Fredericton, I got Fool Lost by a Ryziel player, and I let him draw and keep 11 cards, and all 11 of them he could not play. He literally like showed me and was like, I can't believe like how bad my draws were, and he showed me. And it's because the cards he drew were Sword, Ext, Bonfire, another Sword, another Bonfire, a 7th Tachyon, a 7th Ascension, and his hand already had an Ext Ryziel in it. Everything's hard once per turn. So like Ext gets to Sword, gets to the other one. Can't remember their freaking names right now because
What
I'm on
was
the
your
spot.
board? What was your board?
I was playing Crystal Beast. You don't want me to get into what my board
Okay.
was, but the fact of the matter is, a 5-card hand that contains Ext and Sword, and a 10-card hand that contains 3 Ext and 3 Sword, and so it's the same hand, because you can just use each of those cards once, and then you're just staring at 6 cards you can't use. Redundant copies of hard once per turn effects don't matter, and when you're playing like 1-card combo, like this 1 card goes through like my whole freaking archetype, it doesn't matter how many copies of the cards in that archetype they draw, because they're going through all of those cards anyway. So it doesn't really matter that much. Now it does as far as like drawing into non-engine, and like if you're playing into like Nibiru, he's gonna draw his Nibiru. Like you can't be a dumbass about it. But your typical like Radiant Typhoon pile player, he's got Swen and a quick play in his hand already. Who cares how many copies of Swen and Eldum you let him draw? He already has access to all of that stuff. You can either stop the 1 Swen and 1 Eldum per turn, or you can't. So, like, the reason you're getting hurt by Fool Loss is that you're only putting up like 1 or 2 interruptions and ending your turn because you don't want to play into Fool Loss. And then he has 3 plays for your 2 interruptions. But if you could put 4 or 5 interruptions up, his deck only has 4 or 5 plays, whether he's got a 40-card hand or a 5-card hand. It doesn't make a difference. So, when I was ending on Ally of Justice, Decisive Armor with the 6 negates on it, and Arch Nemesis Protos, and like all the Crystal Beast shit that you just don't want me to get into, but it was there, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't play, you can't play. So you only actually need to have like 3 or 4 interruptions to win a duel when everything's hard once per turn anyway. It just doesn't really matter. As long as you use your interruptions on the right thing. Don't negate Bonfire and then watch him summon Extra Ryziel that he already had in his hand. Let him Bonfire for a second Ext, negate the first one, the second one is just staring at him. Like, Ice, that's the other one, Ice Ryziel. If you have a negate for Ice, Sword, and Ext, you win. Game's over. Doesn't matter if you give him a 30-card hand. As long as like Called by the Grave doesn't interrupt one of your interrupts, you're not trying to Ash the Ice Ryziel and you gave him Called by, you win. The game is over. Especially when, again, you give him like 10 draws and then end your turn and he has to put back like 4 of them, and the 4 cards he puts back are starter cards. Like, it's again, you're letting him draw into things like Ash Blossom that he's discarding, and now he has 1 less card he has to put back, and Ash turns off your shit. But if you couldn't play through 2 or 3 interrupts, you had a bad deck to begin with. Like, the Molcharmies don't stop you, they deter you. They make your bad hands stay bad. They tell you don't take this risk. They tell you like don't go into like zombie vampire and push and go for it. And most importantly, they tell you don't play Sky Striker, Mitsurugi, Yummy, Hungry Burger, Magnet Warrior pile. They say pick two. Like don't play like 5 engine sloppy nonsense. And that's a good thing for the game. You don't want everyone to just be playing the best 5 card engine 8 times as a 40 card deck. That's what Pendulum turned into, and that was not a good time for anybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned some really interesting things, like seeing the bigger picture, like a deck, like Rizal, for example, only has 3 ways to play, right? So you only need to stop those 3 ways. It doesn't really matter how many cards they have in hand. That's just seeing the bigger picture of how a deck works and how to counter it. Um, Hack Allen says, "Hello, thanks for making YGO Organization real. Also,
You're welcome.
huge thanks to Neo Arcadia as well. I don't know who they are or anything, but I just want to tell them I love them very much."
Aw, I'll tell her. She'll really appreciate that.
Sweet. Um,
She is aggressively private. I can't tell you anything about her. She has some very, very hardcore stalkers trying to find her and track her down. So we keep her exclusively anonymous. It's also
yeah,
why she posts all of the articles. We had a very controversial article went on the site 6-ish years ago where we confirmed Cosmic Blazar Dragon was in Duelist Saga, I believe the set was. And the cops showed up at my house. It was bad time. Konami were very adamant that they needed to find who the leak was, and there was no leak. It was their product page. They told us. They hinted at it and didn't think that anyone would get the hint, and we got the hint. So, suffice to say, I've had multiple staff members of Konami and like my Facebook DMs and stuff demanding the identity of Neo Arcadia because they want to like suspend them from organized play and stuff. So now whenever we have like a piece of news, like that Blue Eyes card this morning, the card literally got revealed this morning, but there was a leak out of China, and sure enough, its effect matches the effect of the leak from China. So like when we put the card out, we don't want them to think like, oh, that's not scheduled to get revealed for a week, so they're posting the leak or whatever and like come after us. So we just put Ark's name on everything because nobody on the planet, myself included, knows who Ark is. It just creates a barrier between like who posted the content and the content itself. So like if the watchdogs come barking, they hit a dead end. That there's nothing there. There's no one to prosecute. There's no one to subpoena. There's no one to Pinkerton. It doesn't matter. Like even if you subpoenaed me and brought me into court and made me sit on the stand and be like demanding who Neo Arcadia is, I don't know. I don't know their name. Don't know their age. Don't know their country of origin. I know literally nothing about them. Can't tell you. And I
cool.
don't want to know.
Yeah, respect. Yeah, like yeah, cool. um, what are your thoughts about like the Yu-Gi-Oh community, especially the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh community?
Uh, I feel like there isn't one competitive community, but as far as my thoughts, it's getting warm in here. Sorry. I think that competition in general, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh or anything else, breeds um, negative behavior because you're more likely to succeed when you do so. Um, in a YCS, 1,000 players, 500 tables, 500 matches going on. At all 500 of them, the scenario comes up. I activate a spell in the imperm column and go, wait, no, sorry, over here. Like it's the imperm column's the middle one. I place the spell in the middle column and just like, oh wait, sorry, this one. And that's 500 opponents, and all 500 of them are asked the question, was that okay? And 50 of them are going to be like, yeah, it's fine. And 50 of them are going to be like, absolutely not. You played that in the imperm column. You got to stick to it. And the other 400 call a judge and be like, was he allowed to slide that over? Does he have to commit to it? Blah, 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 blah. The 50 who say, yeah, that's fine, they just got branded fusioned. And they deserved to be. Their opponent has branded fusion, and you don't have an Ash Blossom for it. The only thing you're not gaining here is your opponent making a mistake. Another 50 people are getting a free negate of branded fusion that they did not earn. Their opponent lost. You didn't win, your opponent lost, and like that's the difference. However, all 50 of those people are now advancing to the next round. And all of the 51st people, the first 50 people, let's say 6 or 7 of them go on to lose because they just got branded fusioned. So only like 43 of them make it to the next round. But all 50, you do this enough times across enough interactions across you want to use for it. The type of person who will not let you take back the play, even though no other information happened and it was like half a second long. I don't necessarily call them bad people. They're just tougher people, I guess. I don't know what synonym you want to or adjective you want to use. But as far as like the competitive community goes, it is nurturing and rewarding darker people. So the competitive community is comprised majoritively of your people who have controversial backgrounds. I'm trying not to like single anyone out who did or didn't do a bad thing to another person, but I'm sure if some examples have come to mind of like controversial figures in the public eye. And normally that's fine. I don't care if Mango is the best Smash player or not, despite what a divisive, toxic person he is. Because I don't play Smash, I'm not part of the Smash community. But I do care that in Yu-Gi-Oh, our celebrities are not the artists, they're not the deck builders, they're not the staff members making the game. They are the people winning the tournaments. And so you get people like Hack Allen in chat saying penned best deck because he's parroting someone known for that saying because he tops events despite the behavior of that precise individual and how controversial and divisive his behavior is. Guy's Canadian. I've spoken to him a few times. He's not like that bad a person. He is putting on like a character for the most part, but I don't want my community of players to be like that. I want them to be more welcoming and accommodating. And unfortunately, they do see the equivalent of Andrew Tate and your other toxic masculinity podcasters as role models in our community because our community's role models are bred from a competitive environment, and competitive environments breed those types of people into successful positions. It's just a nature of competition. It's just a nature of life. So as far as like my stance on the competitive community, it is inherently rewarding of toxic behavior and a source of role models and people to emulate. And unfortunately, those two things very much do not mix. So I would honestly kill to have more team APSs in the game where they are friendlier and still popular. And it's not because of things like competition, it's because of things like affability and charisma. I think we need more content creators in the game, and I think we need the fewer people who are competitive and successful without being inherently toxic. Because like I said, it's still like 43 of those 50 people made it on, but they are outnumbered by the 50 people who weren't. I would like to see more out of the Jeff Joneses and less out of the Chris LeBlancs, to just like name specific people.
Okay. No, I appreciate your take, and there's a lot of validity in what you said there. What I'm curious about is that particular scenario that you mentioned with like the playing, a card in the imperm column.
Mhm.
Um, I personally wouldn't see that as like a toxic thing to force your opponent to commit or call a judge
Sure.
on that situation.
I went with something really low impact so that
Yeah,
like there would be people in chat on both sides.
yeah, yeah. I do think
And
though, like,
that is not me calling you a bad person. I want to be clear. It makes you a person more likely to succeed in a competitive tournament. And you have a line you won't cross. We can move that needle further and further over um, to a point where uh, the round has been paired. You see that you're at table 2, and you go down and sit at table 3 next to someone, and you ask him, "Hey, how's your day going? What deck are you playing? Blah blah blah," and you be chummy with them, and then, oh, whoops, I'm actually at table 2, and now you know what your opponent's deck is. Would you ever do that?
nah,
No.
that's straight up. Yeah, that's
Yeah, there's a
some
lot of people who do that
discovery.
exact thing.
Yeah,
There's literally a book that was written by a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player that has that and dozens of other soft cheats that you can get away with in it that gets shared around the competitive community.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I didn't
You
realize
ever
that
hear
we
a
were
guy named
doing.
Roy St. Clair?
I've heard the name. I don't really know a lot about the law.
He went to Worlds cheating and doing something that we know as St. Clairing. He would, at the time, we had 6-card hands. He would draw his 6 cards. You draw your 6. Play my turn. Pass. You draw for turn. Play your cards. Pass. I play my cards. Pass. You draw for turn. Play a card. He calls a judge. Says you cheated. Let's add up all the cards. I have 6. You have 8. You drew an extra card for turn because he skipped his own draw phase. You lose.
What?
He won top 4 of the US Nationals doing that to someone in game 3 because we didn't have live streams and stuff back then. He did it at Worlds as well and got caught.
It's
He's dead now,
crazy.
rest his soul, but that is very much a thing. There is uh oh my gosh, what's his name? Sahabi Carradine, French Canadian Yu-Gi-Oh player. He won 2014 Worlds with the Infernity deck.
Hmm.
Never an infraction in his life, not even a slow play warning as far as I'm aware. Upstanding dude. First regionals after winning Worlds in September in Toronto. He got DQ'd and banned for a year for bribery and wasn't able to defend his title at 2015. So the guy who came in second, Shinsuke Hayama, got to go instead and won, and then got to go again in 2016 and won, and then got to go to the one you were at and lost in top 8 to
Okay.
Marcello. For slow playing, you got like a game loss for slow play in top 8, finally caught up to him. But Sahabi bribed his opponent because he was not going to top his regional, and it was his first event as a world champion. And the pressure of that was enough to incentivize him to bribe his opponent to give him the win on the bubble so that he would at least top the regional. And if he was not the reigning world champion, he wouldn't have done it. At least that's what I believe. But, like, if you and I are playing basketball, I'm not allowed to grab your arm. But if you brandish a knife, I'm going to grab your arm. Even though it's against the rules, I'm not allowed to grab your arm in a basketball match. There are lines that we will not cross, but in certain circumstances, we will still cross them. And it's a children's card game. I don't think you need to pull a knife on your opponent and say, "Scoop or I'll stab you in the throat." Like, that's way ridiculous. But it doesn't change the fact that, like, people will behave differently. And, like, your line was like, yeah, you screwed up with that imperm, but you're not going to St. Clair someone for a win. Like, your line is in a different spot than other people's is. But the further towards St. Clairing you are, the more likely you are to win an event. You're also more likely to have a Twitter thread made about what a piece of shit you are and have your name dragged and stuff. But if you're a sociopath, you don't care. Like, how many negative articles are there about insert CEO of company here? They don't give a shit, and it's because they don't give a shit that they were able to get the CEO job over somebody else. It just, like, I'm all this to say, you are not a bad person because you would not let someone take back the branded fusion. Like, I just went with like the most neutral thing I could think of, where like no matter which way you were on that, you are a normal person. I'm not trying to say that you're bad for not letting them resolve that branded fusion. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, they made a misplay and they deserve it. Although my stance usually on things like takebacks is, has information been traded? If you like played the rota and I said no response, and then you go, oh, I want to take that back, too late. You already know I wasn't going to like ash the rota. If you like put it down and go, wait, sorry, before I even have a chance to like think about it or respond to it, I'm okay with it. That's where I personally sit. Don't necessarily think that I'm the best or that my version of morality is the correct one or anything. But I personally think that if no information is exchanged or gained, then as far as I'm concerned, the game state hasn't like really changed. If you keep doing it and you're running down the clock, then I'll start to get touchy with you. But even then, how many mistakes can your opponent make? How many times can he check his graveyard? How many times can he fidget the cards in his hand before you call a judge for slow play? Everyone's got a different line on that. And like, the more likely you are to be like aggressive about it, the less likely you are to go into time against it. And therefore your win rate will be higher than someone else's. And so you will win more times than them, and you are more likely to have a ring or two from YCS wins. And it's the people with the rings that dictate the community's uh, Overton window, I guess.
Yeah, nice. It's crazy. It's crazy the extent that we'll go to get what we want, but it's interesting the way you lay it out. And yeah, very, very, very controversial, very interesting. I do think I lean towards, or I hope that people would foster, like, I don't know, care more about their reputation and the impact that they have on other people, and like, and at the end of the day, like, what was like, are you happy with what you've done? Are you happy with who you are and how you lived your life? That kind of
Yeah.
deal. But
And
it's
that's the
it's
thing. It's like, can you look yourself in the mirror? And like Tripp's answer will always be like, yeah, well, I'm holding my two trophies. Like, yeah, I look really good holding them. Like, look at that handsome man with his two trophies. Like, they don't care. And that's fine. If all you care about is like the tournament's competitive integrity, I have no problem that he's won events. I think that it's great that he's won events. He put in the time, he's done the effort or whatever. I don't care for his influence on the younger kids when I go to locals. Like, it's one thing to say like penned best deck or whatever. It's another to like start calling your opponents slurs and shout like, "Oh man, I got raped that game," and like turning rape into like a jokey phrase. Like, we don't need shit like that in the game, and it just happens. And like, again, they're coming out of that camp of the 50, not the camp of the 43. There was still 43 out of 50 people who did not lose to that branded fusion. They still go on and win events. Jeff Jones has won YCSs, and he is a sweetheart. One of the nicest people I have ever spoken to. Jesse Cotton has more wins than anybody, and he's a reasonably good dude. I won't say he's like proactively nice, but he's also not proactively a dick. He just kind of does his own thing. If you approach him, you'll probably be okay. Like, he is never going to approach you, but you can approach him, kind of thing. He's a very neutrally quiet guy. There are plenty of other just super kind people. Luke Sacco, very genuinely kind dude. Really like Luke Sacco. I feel like if I keep naming people, then someone I don't name will get upset, so I should probably cut it there. But yeah, like, you already know who the bad apples are. Twitter will tell you. They all get their own thread about a time he did blank. Um, I wish that more people like Jesse and Josh made content, and I'm super grateful that as of recently they do.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I guess last kind of question, because we'll wrap up soon. What are
Sure.
like your personal goals for the future?
My personal goals. make enough money that I can give every Yu-Gi-Oh! Staff member $1 billion. That would be pretty sick. Um, uh, it would be really cool, obviously, to win worlds. I'm just geographically not in a place to do it. If I ever like moved to Toronto, then I could try and do like the world's point grind thing. Like that's the way to go, because then you're not putting all your eggs in the one event RNG basket. But I have 4 regionals a year here. And if I come in first at all 4 of them, I get 32 points. You can get more points than that from one event in Toronto, let alone how accessible Buffalo and Ohio and Pittsburgh and California. Like, if I want to fly to California, I have to fly to Toronto first. It's just like my Jesse's flight to any YCS on the planet and my flight to the same YCS is a $500 difference of me flying to Toronto first to get on the same damn plane he's on. So if I want to play in 12 YCSs a year, it's an extra $6,000 compared to someone who lives in Toronto, to say nothing of the fact that they get twice as many regionals that are worth 8 times as many points each. Like, it's not a feasible, it's not in my future unless I'm just completely and utterly stupid about it. I'd have to be singularly focused, just playing 1,000 games like I did in 2013, and just like watch the site decay and not pay attention to my girlfriend like at all and be gone as often as not. Like, you did the world's point grind. How often were you fucking home? Like, you remember Darren
Never.
Stevenson? That dude went from couch to couch in the States so he could win the
Yeah.
European point list when they still allowed that shit. Like, you have to just dedicate your life to it. And as cool as it would be, it's not my only priority in life. So it should go to someone who it is their only priority, someone who actually puts in that work. It would be cool to get more content creation. I would like more people to recognize me. I go to a YCS and no one knows who I am. Every person there uses my site. No one knows who this guy is. So it'd be cool to flip that around. I would also like more people in my personal circle who are competitively successful that can give me insights I don't already have. I have a very large community. Most of them are students, whether through Medify or my own Discord, where I've done lessons for years. But I have been the best player in the room for 13 years. I don't have other people like you to bounce ideas off of very often or get perspectives I don't already have. And so it's become harder to improve, and I always have a goal of improving myself. Other goals probably would be launching more of my projects. That's a big one. I've got like 4 more like website projects like on the go, and none of them are like actually like out yet. One of them is we are making our own dueling simulator, like dueling book,
Ooh. Okay.
but bringing back all the original dueling network staff for it, so it'll actually have like admins. When you like call an admin, it won't take like 6 hours and have someone come and call you a slur. It'll actually be like a judge who will actually help you. Another is a perfect rulebook site. So you can just get answers to all your Yu-Gi-Oh questions by like going to the site. The answer's just already there. Having like all the mechanics like laid out in a nice resource for people to use. My spellbook website that I made, that is a deck builder. It's not quite where I want it yet, so I haven't been like pushing it all that hard, but you can check it out at spellbook.life. It's got like binders and Genesis support and everything on it. It's pretty cool, but it's not super perfect, and I want it to be like super perfect because I am a perfectionist at heart. I have another card economy site that lets you like I think that one's online. Let me check. Cardecono.my. Is that site still up and running? It's just the words card economy, but the my is the URL. No, it's not up right now. We have to actually like turn it on. But it lets you type in a card and it'll tell you all of its like sale history. And you can set up a profile and like watch certain cards. And if a card you're watching has a price increase of more than 25%, it'll email you and tell you so that you don't miss that like your card's getting bought out suddenly.
Yeah.
Just little things. I got a ton of little projects on the go.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, those would be my goals, I suppose. At least as far as Yu-Gi-Oh is concerned. Obviously, I have like life goals with the girlfriend, but like that's also her personal life. I shouldn't talk about that. So
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, no, that those all those projects sound awesome, and one of the things you mentioned about like getting yourself more out there, I'd definitely be open to more collaborations. I think this conversation has been very awesome. There's a lot of gold you dropped there, and yeah, I think you definitely do deserve a lot more recognition, and I'll do what little I can to help support with that, and yeah, thank you for being on, and Stefan the miner says cool shelf in the background. I know we talked about this
oh yeah,
offline, but yeah, it's so cool. Like he's even got like the world's trophies down there, and yeah, like you see the Slifer, the obelisk.
you
It's
can't see the raw. It's
super
too
cool.
high up. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've got there's some pretty silly stuff on there. There's the like Hello Kitty Yu-Gi-Oh McDonald's toys. It's like this Blue Eyes White Dragon cinema roll plush fella. Um, can't see. There we go. See my own stream. Um,
yeah.
Hello Kitty Blue Eyes White Dragon guy. There's a whole bunch of them up there. I've got the like manga god card, the crystal or stainless steel dark magician, the blue eyes, the playset of blue eyes from the Kaiba briefcase. I've got all the pot collection guys. It's like a pot of avarice. Like they're scattered throughout all the shelves. All my graded cards, all my autographed cards. Like you said, the trophies from 2002 and 2003 because I was little. They're how do I even describe them? You know the same world's points leaderboard.
Yeah.
Upper Deck had one for every state and every province. So the person who would come in first at the end of the year, they would send you that like in the mail. So like that was 2002 and that was 2003 when I was 12 and 13.
Oh wow, awesome. That's super sick.
Um, and then up on this shelf, this is the manga Dark Magician, and that's a Dark Magician girl. They're the same as the like stainless steel blue eyes and Dark Magician. Like they're in like the trophy stand thing. This like crystal stand, and then like they're
Wow.
individually numbered on the back.
Shout out to Carlos C for subscribing. And I do love also the display, the lights that change as well. That's
Oh
super
yeah,
cool.
that's
Um,
just a basic RGB light strip I got off Amazon and then just fed it
yeah,
through. And like I've
and
got every Legacy of Darkness card in PSA 10 is that stack of slabs there. Oh, follower goal met, 80 out of 80. Well done.
let's go. Thank you. Shout out to now Schrader for subscribing, and the guitar. I'm curious, do you play?
Yes. Although I think calling it playing is generous.
Okay, okay.
I in addition to Yu-Gi-Oh, I said like I'm there's a lot in my life, complicated enough person. Um, I am friends with people who are so much better at guitar than I will ever be that it is extraordinarily humbling. Um, Without getting like too in depth or anything, you can even see like on my Twitch page if you want. I am on Team Dragon Force because one of my friends is Herman Lee, the lead guitarist of Dragon Force. Is a
Yo,
very good friend of mine. I'm actually one of his Twitch mods. Um, and like I've like met his wife and his kids, and, like all this other. There's a lot. I'm not going to get into all that. It's completely off topic. But when you have seen him play, like in the living room, like next to you, while he's like fucking rocking his kid with his foot and shit. No, I cannot play guitar. I am the worst guitar player you have ever fucking spoken to. I'm trash at the guitar compared to like the shit that I have seen and the people I have been around. it's night and day. I don't have one in here, I don't think. Do I? No, it's downstairs. In 2010/2011, I mentioned I was on an esports team with ESOM. It was for Guitar Hero. I was the best Guitar Hero player in Canada for 2 years. So
Yo,
I got to travel around doing like the MLG thing, and I met like Dave Mustaine and Ozzy and like all the guys that are like working on the games. I've consulted on a few of the Guitar Hero titles, Warriors of Rock, for example. There's a new one coming out called Sound System that's being made by those guys, and I've been beta testing that for the last couple of weeks. But again, getting way off topic. But yeah, I'm not someone who like went to high school with a whole bunch of people who were in a band and I'm like in the top 5 guitarists that like I know or whatever. I'm someone who has been around like no less than 100 people who play guitar for money internationally. So like my standards on if I can play guitar are way like through the roof. Like I cannot play the guitar at all. I'm trash and I always will be.
dude. I mean, the fact that you know these people is actually just insane. Quick shout out to the chat first. My Bakugan don't work. My boy Nugs, thank you for subscribing with Prime. I think you are actually my first subscriber, so thank you for that.
Oh,
Appreciate you.
nice.
Look forward to seeing you Friday. Um, and we have this. He says this Dan guy is hella cool, super cool lore. Stefan says I can only play Guitar Hero, and there you go, mentioning that you were like one of the best Guitar Hero players around. Um, Josh says, love hearing this conversation. Has to ignore my girlfriend to tune in. Milano, thank you, JY, for making such refreshing content. Much love, Milano, bro. I appreciate you. And you make the funniest skits, so keep that up. Um, why is your panda? JY, you need some background, mate. On God. Yeah, my background is dry, but eventually we'll spice it up a little bit. Um,
Gotta get you a shelf
yeah,
with some
yeah, I
God
do.
cards
I
on it.
do. Yeah, dude, that's sick. But yeah, guys, everyone, please. Now Schrader, thank you for subscribing with Prime as well. Really appreciate you. Much love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ooh, what we bringing down here? Yo,
Actually stabbed myself on tachyon transmigration too. That sucked.
oh
Trying to
my
catch it, it
God,
hurt.
that tachyon goes crazy,
Yeah, I think a
crazy.
piece fell as well. It's not ideal. Oh, it's one of the stains. Yeah. Holds up his knee or some crap, his foot. Yeah. There's a raw up there. There's a BLS up there. The raw's too big. I can't get it down. It's heavy.
That's all good. That's all good. We don't want to we don't want to damage anything.
Oh, I'm
Um,
bleeding. Shit.
really? Oh shit. Damn, damn.
Genuinely, like bleeding out of my hand from grabbing that tachyon transmigration when it fell. I caught it like reflexively, but it's sharp.
Oh my God. Stefan asked, how much is that thing worth?
Which thing? There's 30
The
things behind me.
I'm
And I
assuming
need
I'm
a
assuming
pronoun.
the tachyon.
Oh, I think I spent like $100 for it, but I got it like from Japan, like from the manufacturer when they came out. I have no idea what it's currently worth. The God cards, the Cypher in particular, is like way up. The God cards were 300 each, and then the Cypher is like $1,000 now. Like it's stupid.
Wow, that's crazy.
Um, the trophies, the God card one's like 300. The Dark Magician and Blue Eyes were both $1,000 retail, and there's only 1,000 of each one of them. I have no idea what they're currently worth. The Triple Blue Eyes from the briefcase is worth less than the briefcase. The Millennium Puzzle trophies, I've been offered different amounts fluctuating on them. I'll obviously never sell them. They literally have my name on them. But in like 2009, I got offered like $500 for one of them. In 2016, I got offered $3,000 for one of them, and then in 2019, I got offered only $200 for one of them. So like it's whatever. People buy trophies for whatever they're paying for them. The graded cards, again, I have no idea. PSA 10 Yada is worth whatever it's worth. But it's every Legacy of Darkness card, so some amount. The guitar,
Yeah.
The guitar is, I think, 1500. I'm not sure. It's called an Epiphany or Epiphone Apparition. It's a signature model from a guy named Marcus Henderson. He's the dude who, if you've ever played the older Guitar Hero games, he wrote, or he didn't write, he performed all the covers that are on the Guitar Hero game. He was the guitarist playing all the music. So they gave him his
Oh
own guitar.
wow.
This guitar is designed to be able to play all the songs. So like it has like a kill switch, it has a Floyd Rose, like all the different like fixings on it, which is why I have this one because not only is Marcus a dear friend, but I don't want to own 5 guitars to be able to play the different songs. I wanted like an all-in-one axe, so I just plug that into my PC and play whatever I want to play, as opposed to needing multiple different guitars to play things.
Dude, that's sick. That's sick. And shout out to Road of the Kings for following. Appreciate that.
Road of the
But
King,
yeah, bro.
nice. Era.
This has been an awesome stream. We'll definitely have you on again at some point in the future. And anything you want to say to the chat watching or to anyone watching the vid, or any shout outs you want to give before we close out the video?
Well, first, if you've been in chat for 3 hours and you haven't followed or subscribed, what are you doing? How can you enjoy this much content and not want more of it? But obviously, shout out to everyone at YGOrg and Yugipedia for making my life possible. Shout out to you and your audience for making Between the Rounds possible and having a platform for me to yap. I guess is what the kids call it today. Boy, am I a yapper. I feel like you probably said less than 100 words this entire time, and I'm sorry for that. I definitely
No, it's been awesome.
monopolized.
You've been spitting gems. You've been unleashing lore, like hidden gems, things I never heard about. You blow my mind these last 3 hours. Seriously.
Oh, dude, it's tip of the iceberg. The stuff I've seen, the things I've heard, like it's been 26 years of this crap, so. But yeah, shout out to awesome people and not shout out to bad people.